Oh, yeah? Well, me and the Lord, we got an understanding.
We're on a mission from God.
They say I need some Rogaine to put in my hair. Work it out at the gym to fit my underwear. Oakley makes the shades to transform a tool. You'd hate for the kids to think that you lost your cool. I'ma do the things that I wanna do. I ain't got a thing to prove to you. I'll eat my candy with a fork and beans. Excuse my manners if I make a scene. I ain't gonna wear the clothes that you like. I'm fine and dandy with a mean inside. One look in the mirror and I'll take a pic. I don't give a hoot about what you think. Everyone likes to dance to a happy song with a catchy chorus and beat, so they can.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Pork and Bean Show, starring two of the world's foremost ascendant disasters, Pork Cunningham, and the world's handsomest man, Frank Woodley. Sit back, relax, and stay a while, and access the far recesses of your imagination. As far as the universe you can imagine beyond. And let us introduce you to the world of the SASQUATCH people and their message of love, their message of hope, and their message of connection.
Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out. Welcome back to that same old place that you laughed about. Well, the names have all changed since you hung around. but those dreams have remained and they've turned around. Who'd have thought they'd lead ya? Who'd have thought they'd lead ya? Back here where we need ya. Back here where we need ya. Yeah, we tease him a lot, 'cause we got him on the spot. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
This meeting is being live streamed. Got it? Oh, yeah, I may have to push the little thing that says got it.
I got it, but I didn't get it.
Got it.
Who's on first?
I'm so happy we got Carter Buschardt again.
Hey, everybody. My name is Port Cunningham, and I'm here with my distinguished, honorable co-host, the world's handsomest man, Frank Oliver Baines. And we're here for part
Everybody.
2.
Welcome for Facebook and YouTube and every place it's going to go. Going to have a good show today.
See how polite I was? I stopped mid-sentence just to let Beans get his thought in there.
Were
Yeah.
you talking?
Yeah, after my camp out, I'm a new me. I'm a new me, brand new
Oh,
me.
look, you're so mellow.
Yeah, I'm so hum.
You
I'm so mellow.
made your bed also, which is
Oh
a
yeah. Well,
distinct improvement. I appreciate that.
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, the last time I know I didn't give you enough oh, I can't even remember what I was going to say. I didn't give you enough respect to make my bed. I thought, I got to change that around.
Well, when
I'm
you
a
got
brand new
white
me.
sheets, when you have white sheets, you should launder them more than like once a month.
Right.
You get-
So today we're here with our good friend, Carter Buschardt. And Carter, you reminded me of a lady I dated once.
Oh, Cartina Buscherminti.
No, but it was mostly because of the hair and the lack of, but
Well, some of the women I dated were pretty hairy too. I think that's why I'm into Sasquatch.
why do you got my beard now?
I've always had your beard. You shaved. I've had this forever.
Well,
For years.
I had the full blown
Yeah.
hairy thing, but the wife put a kibosh to that pretty quick.
Yeah, my wife didn't want a full beard. This makes me look 10 years younger.
Really?
I add the beard, I'm 20 years older. So,
You look like an academic,
well, just,
sociology professor at the junior college.
well, maybe junior college. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't go any higher than that.
So I have a question for you. You were in the comedy field at
Yeah.
one point. This has been on my mind for years. Can you do stand up while sitting down?
Well, yes, you can. But I did improv and sketch. I never did stand up. I had me and 2 other guys. We had a group out on a limb. We did sketch stuff. We wrote our own stuff. And we did improv. Well, basically, you get to the club, go, howdy, what are we doing? Who am I? Where are we? Thank you for your suggestions. Here we go. We just make a scene. Just like whose line is it anyway?
Well, many of the great comedy teams had 3 guys, right? You got the Marx Brothers and you got the Three Stooges.
Yeah, and I was a stooge. I still am. Much
Yeah,
to my wife.
you would be the Curly Howard of the group, I think.
Yep.
Certainly.
Yeah. It was a great run. I really enjoyed it. And I'm still
Did
a
you?
smart ass. I still crack, stuff all the time. And we were actually supposed to audition for Whose Line Is It Anyway? Because we were one of the few improv groups. And our manager said, well, guys are putting together this show and they want to interview or audition just improv groups. And there was about a half a dozen working in the country at the time, and anywhere from 2 to 6 members. Not counting Chicago Theater Company or anything like that, the Groundhogs, the Groundlings, where Saturday Night Live got all their people. So, and one of my partners, he got a brain tumor and passed away before we could get out on the road. So that was the end of our shot at, greatness.
I'd say that's inconsiderate.
Yeah, it's really just kind of rude. He wasn't that
Yeah.
funny anyway, so.
Not funny in any way.
Yeah, but it was a great run. I enjoyed it, and I would do it all over again. And sometimes I still feel like I'm, performing sometimes, but I have a mouth and head that just won't stop. So I do speak inappropriately at inappropriate times sometimes.
Oh, well, make sure you do a little bit of that for the show here, just to mix it
Certainly
up.
will. Yeah, well,
And
so,
So tell us the news about your book.
well, I just got through discussing that the second book, I mean, run over here and get one.
Look at that. He's got stacks of them.
Yeah, that
Sasquatch,
book.
evidence of
Sasquatch.
an enigma 2.
Well, we're running into a dilemma because that book is 147 pages. And when I signed with Beyond the Fray, you know, they repackaged my first book, added a new cover. I added a chapter and about 10 other pages on top of that and re-released it with Sasquatch Down the Rabbit Hole of Strangeness as the title. It was a redo. This one here is like, I've added 100 pages to it. It's 147 pages right now. I'm at 230. So I've almost doubled the size of the book. So now we're trying to figure out, because I don't want there to be confusion, you know, like, is this just book 2, or is this should be a standalone book without continuing it? So we're having that email exchange right now. But my guy in Canada is gushed forth with a whole bunch of other stuff. So he's added 100 pages to his stuff just by himself. So, and I think I'm done, except adding some terms at the end of the, you know, terminology and stuff, like a glossary of terms. Other than that, so I haven't decided, you know, they just asked me yesterday, are you done with your book? And I said, well, I've been done. You told me to take my time, so I wasn't rushing you. So I'm not sure what we're doing, but we're in the process of discussing whether this is going to be like a book 2 with the same cover, but just book 2, or if it's going to be a whole new title. Kind of a quandary. I guess it's a good quandary.
Is it available now or what?
Huh?
Is that one available now?
Yeah, this one's available now. And I'm
Okay.
selling this one out of my house because I was self-published until I signed this deal with Beyond the Fray. So I still have these to sell out of my house. They're going to let me get rid of this stock. But the new book is almost doubled in size. I didn't really realize it until I was just done writing. So
you're a bona fide author. I mean, you've actually got a book deal.
yeah, I did. Yeah, you know, and I was discussing with him, you know, how does this work? You told me to take my time, so I'm thinking, well, maybe that has something to do with my books aren't selling very fast. So maybe you told me to take my time because you don't want to put any more time or effort into it. So I'll go, okay, I get it. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I said, no, that's not it at all. You've actually got a good chunk of royalties coming in, which I don't care about. I mean, I do, but I'm just trying to get the word out. It's not about the money, because if you've ever written a book, you know, you're not going to get rich unless you're Stephen King or one of the mystery authors, you know. So,
Well, you better spruce the house up before the royals come in.
yeah, before the royalties come in, you know.
Oh, the royals.
Yeah,
Bonnie,
Prince
Prince
Harry,
Charlie, and
you know.
is Elizabeth still around?
No, we put her down. She's out in the backyard. It was a sad day, you know.
Yeah, well,
She wouldn't eat her
depends
veggies. You know, screw that. You know, the royals just don't like their veggies. You know, I said, well, you know, I don't care.
well, I mean, they're reptilians, aren't they?
I think they are.
I think so.
supposedly.
That's what the rumors says.
So, but anyway, so yeah, we're gonna decide here pretty quick if it's gonna be a whole other title on its own, or if it's gonna be a continuation, because they're saying, well, if you have a continuation of the first book and you didn't add a whole lot of material, you're gonna cut into your market that you've already saturated. But if you added a lot of stuff, that might be a whole different thing. So now we're discussing a whole different thing. So but that's where I've been the last, you know, couple, 2-3 weeks, is just real busy finishing that up, you know. So it's come out real, I think it turned out great, you know, but, you know, of course, that's me, I wrote it, you know. My kid, you know, if you have a baby, your baby is the most beautiful baby in the world, you know, and somebody else is like that.
Well, I'm glad you're addressing the enigma. Is that a word or is that a slander?
That's a word. It's, you know, enigma is like a quandary. It's like a confusing thing that everyone speaks of, but there's no definitive answer. And it's just, you know, a quest for more knowledge. That's what it is. It's something that's, you know, alleged to exist, but according to most people, they don't. So
You sounded like you described the pork and bean show.
I did. Wow, I just did.
Wow.
Do I
You
get
finally,
royalties for that? If you use my likeness, I'm going to charge you.
we finally got an identity.
Yeah.
Thanks to you, Carter. Thank you very
Remember,
much.
that's enigma, not an enema. Just so you get the
What's the difference?
not much. Not a lot.
You get screwed both ways, but one in a different
And the
orifice.
Bean Show.
But it's nice that there is an open-mindedness to discuss the quantum, possible quantum qualities of Sasquatch, because that was totally taboo 5 years ago, even 3 years ago. But like in the last year,
We get run out of groups.
yeah. Well, I run some of them off because there's, you know how it is in the Sasquatch world. It's just all full of hate and venom. Everybody wants to be the first one to be
Yes.
something, and I don't care about that.
No. Why can't we all just be friends?
Rodney King, see where it got him. Why can't we all just get along?
Yeah. Why can't we all just be friends and sing
Yeah.
Kumbaya by the fire campfire?
But I just did a paranormal 3-day paranormal conference here in Kansas City 3-4 weeks ago, and I had all kinds of people coming up and addressing things that they have seen, and it's one of those things where those kind of reports you'll never see on BFRO anyway. So, but they're coming up and telling you just bizarre stuff, and with the straight face and with the look in their eyes, like, please listen to me, don't laugh at me, don't scorn me. I mean, they just want to get it off their chest. And you're at this paranormal conference where there's hundreds of people milling around, they're, getting their tarot cards read and, all that kind of stuff, hypnosis and things like that. And so they're like very anxious. You could just tell. I mean, if you're nervous, hoaxer, just making stuff up, you're just go, hey, I got one for you. I'll tell you what happened. But they're like not begging or anything, but they're like anticipating that, please just listen to me. There's just a look on their face that tells you that they've got something to share and it's eating at them. That's what's, and that's what's interesting, when Mike was talking about the survey that, all that. I mean, I just found that very intriguing that you talk to these people that have had encounters, thousands of them, and you re-ask the questions from different angles, and they're willingly telling you something. They're anonymous, they don't want anything, they're just participating in this thing and telling you what happened to them, and hopefully that gives other people the courage to come forward. So that's the whole thing in the book, is just getting people to come forward, and whether you believe, I don't care if you believe it or not, really, I can't change your mind. Only you can do that. I can't do any of that. I can't change anybody's mind. So, but and that conference I did was just like, oh my gosh. And some of the stuff, it's out there, but it certainly sounds good. And some of the stories, I mean, how can you make that up? I mean, some of these people just can't make that stuff up. You just
Give
can't.
us a sample. Give us a sample of a strange one you remember.
Okay. This lady came up to me. I did a presentation, so I had to get up and do a presentation for about an hour, and you take questions from the audience, and I'd show them some of my footprints up there on the wall. I took them with me and all that kind of stuff. And this lady came up after, and she said, and this happened right in my, I live in Kansas City, or Liberty, Missouri. This was in Independence, Missouri, but she lives over in Kansas City, Kansas, which is, anyway, it's a neighboring state. It's close. It's within 25 miles of my house. So she's pulling up to a stoplight, and it's a 4-lane highway, 2 lanes one way and 2 lanes the other. I don't know exactly where this is. It's over by the casino and the old dog track here in Kansas. So she's pulling up and she sees a car that's already stopped at this intersection. And there's a guy inside and he's doing all this kind of stuff, and the car's kind of moving and rocking. And he's, it looks like he's freaking out or swatting at flies or something. He's just going berserk. And so when she pulls up, she looks over at him and he's like crying and sobbing hysterically. And then she looks over to her left, and on the other side of the road, walking across the street, and I know what you're going to say. I'm watching both of you for eye rolls. There's a Sasquatch on all fours. Now, it's like, and what she described it was telling to me, because Sasquatch do not run on all fours, hands and knees. They run on all fours, hands and feet. Their butt is way up in the air. They're arched like this, and they are super fast. So that description right there tells me she was looking at something. But this creature had slacks, a white shirt, a tie, and a jacket. And it was just walking across. And this guy had already seen this apparently before she pulled up. He was seeing it, and he was going berserk in his car. And it looked like he was trying to get out of the car, and he couldn't get his door unlocked. He kept trying the door. She could see that he was trying, and he was just like trapped in the car, and he was hysterical. And this creature just walks across the street calmly, looks at her, and she described the face as a conical head and a flat face. Classic Sasquatch. And so 5 seconds, it walks across the street and it's gone, just walks casually into the woods like it was another Sunday stroll. And so she was freaked. She slams on her gas and hauls ass out of there. 3 blocks later, she looks around and that guy is still sitting at the intersection. And when she left, his hand was on the wheel. He was looking straight ahead and just in a zone.
I had a come to Jesus moment.
Yeah. And so, okay, that sounds made up. But she described the physical characteristics of them walking on all fours, which is a way they travel and to get a lot of land speed because they got the leg power and stuff. They're super, super fast. She described the leg movement, although it was kind of going real fast, but it was only moving at a certain speed. It was moving much slower than the legs appeared to be moving. It was just kind of a weird thing. So, and this is in an area that's kind of close to some Native American lands. And, if you get into the shapeshifters and stuff like that, that they can look like anything, anytime. So perhaps this creature was trying to blend in by looking like one of us, although it's a 6 foot tall Sasquatch on all fours walking across a highway with a suit and tie. Looked like the RLDS, the door knockers, the Jehovah's Witnesses coming to your door, all have the same attire. It was just, and she said it with a straight face. She was so sincere, and she goes, "Thank you for listening to me." And I know it sounds weird, and and the Potawatomi tribe is over there, and several other Indian tribes are over there. There's casinos in that area, so there's Native American land. So if it was a shapeshifter taking on the appearance of something to blend in, possible. But that was bizarre. That was just bizarre.
That's not the first time I've heard of Sasquatch having clothes on. It's the first time I ever heard of a shirt, tie, and jacket. But
yeah, well, here's another one.
Let me ask you one thing though. Why was the guy trying to get out of the car?
Well, because
you think he'd speed off, wouldn't he?
Well, you'd think so, but that's what it appeared that he was doing. Was maybe he'd put it into park when he saw this. I have no idea. Maybe he had, it was a shifter and he popped the clutch and killed the engine and he couldn't get the car going. So it was just, that was her interpretation of his actions, because he kept reaching around, and trying to open something and it wasn't working. She could see he was doing this. And so that was her interpretation,
I have a quick thought on that. Kevin Royce and I have seen Sasquatch in human form. Maybe this individual was transitioning.
Could be
something, and they had clothes on, glasses, all kinds of stuff. So
2 days, 3 days, let's see, 2 days, 3 or 4 days ago, let's do that. 3 or 4 days ago, I got another report because the Oklahoma Sasquatch group, it's a paranormal group they talk about, which is in Oklahoma. A guy saw a Sasquatch. The security lights at his house went on, and he went out to see what was going on because it was 3 o'clock in the morning. He was just like, okay, you're out in the boonies in an area very well known for Sasquatch events. And he describes a Sasquatch in a clown outfit. But on Native American lands, and that is their belief that they can come and go as whatever they want to be. You know, it's not Wendigo or any of that kind of stuff. It was like, dang, he described it as a black and gray outfit, you know, with the, half was, gray over here and white over here. And then the pants were gray and white reversed, with them on the other side. So you had the contrast and all that. And it had pancake makeup on that was kind of smeared and kind of grungy looking, and a collar. And it was walking through his soybean field. What do you say to that?
I
other
think
than,
that's
yeah,
like,
you're out of your
I think
mind.
it's like the crop circles. They want to be seen like that for
Yeah.
some reason. And there again, we were talking about, if we had a survey, those kind of things would come up in a survey. Like, have you ever seen Sasquatch with clothes on or something?
Yeah.
I think
Well, I've heard a
that would
couple
be
of things
category.
about Sasquatch wearing loin cloths, carrying spears, carrying a pouch over its shoulder.
Yeah, clubs.
What do you
I heard this.
say to
I
that?
actually interviewed a guy who saw Sasquatch in fighting gear, as in the old knights kind of things. Had a leather vest and a metal helmet, and he was really proud of it. That's like, that was his thing. So
Yeah, and so maybe in their logic, they're blending in, and maybe it's a screen memory. This is what I want you to remember, because I don't want you to remember seeing me, but I'm going to look like one of the Jesus freaks and the door knockers that we have in great supply here in Missouri. The RLDS church and the Jehovah's Witnesses. They come to your door wearing, black slacks, a jacket, white shirt, and a black tie, kind of like the Tommy Lee Jones, or whatever the movie is with Will,
Men in
anyway.
Black,
Huh?
Men in Black.
Yeah, Men in Black, just like that. So the things you've heard, the things I hear, I mean, what's to say they're just not trying to blend in, and that's just their interpretation? To me, it's almost like a screen memory, like in a UFO type thing, where there's a screen memory. We want you to remember this. So if you are, having second thoughts, well, I saw a Sasquatch. No, I was wearing a coat and a jacket. That can't be. It wasn't a Sasquatch.
The ETs have been seen as clowns many times.
Huh?
The ET, the little grays, have been seen as clowns in
Yeah.
a screen image many times. So I don't know what the connection is there, but to me, it's like there's an element of, they want to be seen, they want to be acknowledged, talked about on a show. There's a big push. That's like, there's a propaganda side to the Sasquatch.
Yeah.
They
Well,
want these stories out.
Yeah. And just this morning, I was on Facebook, and I should have saved it and I didn't, but it was a story about the FBI knowing really all about, and these are interdimensional beings. They've known about it since the 40s or 50s. And there's a report out, and I know I'll see it. But there's reports of the FBI having reports, and they've got the Freedom of Information Act, and some of these, documents, they're all, blacked out and redacted and got notes and stuff written on them. But it talks about they're aware of that they're interdimensional beings. The FBI has files on it, and data files. It's one of those reports that it came from a person I trust, but I didn't notice any fact checking on his end, so I don't know. But it's just like, they're aware of what they are and where they're from and what they're doing here, and they have a whole file on it, and it was just like matter of factly put out there. So if they're interdimensional beings, and the FBI and science and the government are all aware of them, which I know they are, so why is anything a stretch? I mean, if you think about what they're admitting to, seeing a Sasquatch in a clown outfit or a loincloth or a suit and tie is not abstract if you think that they're trying to meld into our society in some way, and they happen to have lost their concentration. They slipped back into their form for a second or two. I mean, who knows? I mean, it's all fodder for thought,
Yeah, well, I was talked about, I'm sorry, Brian. No, I talked about in several other shows about how if you follow the history of what's going on with this, UFOs, it started off back in the 50s, and these metal crafts would land, and men would get out and talk to humans, and and then they get in and fly away, and then it changed to just the crafts landing, and then there was physical evidence, and then it changed, and the shape of the shape of the UFO changed, and then they would drop things, they would drop metal, or then they had crashes. So there's this whole evolution of bizarre things. Like at one time there was for about 5 years, they were dropping this cloud-like material that you'd pick it up and it would be like cotton candy, and then it would just disappear. And there's, and then the UFOs would show up over schools, or they show up over prisons, or they show up over manufacturing facilities, or they show up over bases. And that this whole range of different ways of looking at the UFO, and then the shapes of the UFO changed. So now the UFOs are kind of like balls of light now. We have this whole phenomenon where they're balls of light and all this kind of stuff happens. That wasn't so. So there's like this, and in each one of the things that they were doing is an engagement. Like the crop circles was an engagement. People were drawn to the crop circles, and they would, research that, and people were drawn to the metal that would be dropping out of these things, or the effects that the radiation had on the grass and all that kind of stuff. These were engagements. So to me, and the Sasquatch are doing the same thing. And then now, like I said, with the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters, that goes right to the people having direct experiences with the ETs. And that's where we are now with the Sasquatch. There's people who are doing the investigation, and they're looking for footprints, and they're looking for casts, and they're looking for sounds and hair samples and stuff like that, and recordings. Well, that's all the physical side. But then then you have to take it one step further, and then there's people like us, Brian and all his friends, and all the spiritual Sasquatch people. They have a relationship with the Sasquatch people, which puts it in a whole nother category. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But both these efforts both of the efforts of the ETs and the Sasquatch people is to acclimate human beings to be comfortable with the idea. Like we talk about UFOs now. Like 10 years ago, you talk about UFOs, and then you get the eye roll. But now everybody's comfortable with the UFOs. You know what I mean? Just talking about it as a topic. And so I think this is like a 50-year, 100-year plan between the Sasquatch and the ET people to get human beings comfortable.
Yeah, a slow indoctrination. Kind of.
Slow, steady, story by story.
Well, that's how you do it. It's subtle, but it's still like an axe handle between the eyes when you start thinking about it and go, oh my God. But that goes back to the education of humans. We are all taught from the day we come out of the birth canal how to think, how the world is. Here's a book, read this. You're going to be a teacher. Here's this book. The government and science wrote it, and we know everything and you know nothing. Teach this to everybody. So you go back 10 generations at 25 years a generation, that's 250 years of disinformation. Back to the point where disinformation was not a thing. When people saw something, they drew it on a cave wall. There was not like, well, I'm going to put 16 heads on it and put it in a car. Well, they didn't see that, but they saw Sasquatch type beings. They saw alien type beings. Go back to Egypt and the Mayans and all the stuff that's on their art and pottery. I mean, my God, they've known about this, and they draw what they saw. that's pure and simple before we got into all of the technology and communication and the media, So when you see that, that's real stuff, whether you believe it or not. They saw that. Oh no, it can't be there. That's just, symbolic. Well, no, it's not symbolic because it's in Egypt and it's in South America and Central America and the United States. And it's everywhere. It's the same symbolism. Well, why is there pyramids everywhere? Why is there, if humans don't think in like total linear things, they just, back then, whatever I see is what I'm going to draw on this cave wall. Since I don't have paper and pen, I'm going to, prick my finger or grab some ochre and scribble it on and cranberry seeds and draw it on the cave wall, and that's it. And that stands the test of time. So yeah, it's fascinating. And I think the world we're in right now with all the distrust, disharmony, and misinformation, I think the other side that we aren't supposed to see or know about is coming forward, because it's time for us to know certain things. Whether you believe them or not, it's time for humanity to know, or at least consider, because we're not getting answers from the government or science. They're all just lying to us and BSing us. And that's their chosen endeavor, because keep the masses, in the dark so we can be controlled. So, but it's weird. It's like a renaissance of information. Just it's, if you go back to the 1400s, 1500s, when the Renaissance, it's, creativity and writing and everything was flourishing. And now I think we're at that, but it's more of a paranormal, quantum, non-linear thing. It's like, this is what the world is. We only see so many points in the physical light spectrum. We don't know what the heck's going on around us. We have no idea. 4 dimensions, 6, 12, whatever, science throws at us and said, we have no idea. We already know what we're told. So we're slowly getting, it's just a fascinating time to be, doing the research, and I still hope we get the truth, because no matter what they tell us, there's going to be a bigger truth coming down the road that's not as big as the one they admit to. So, I'm just waiting for all the good stuff to come out, Sasquatch and otherwise. I think Sasquatch is a done deal. I think, it's a real thing. Now, whether it's paranormal and has the skills we say, or because it's so elusive and just happens to have certain physical attributes that can make it appear to disappear, maybe we've assigned it those skills because we can't catch one and see one, or film it. So we go, well, it must be spiritual, it must be metaphysical, it must be a quantum thing. It can come and go from dimensions and portals and all of that stuff. Well, maybe that's because an excuse we make because we can't get a body or validation that it actually exists. So we assign it these properties. But too many people are describing absolutely phenomenal things. And so I've taken that theory that they're physical beings and they're just very clever to get around it, because all the things we're talking about involve Sasquatch and other beings, interdimensional light beings or what have you. Can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Got to just discuss it and at least consider it. If it doesn't work, if that theory doesn't turn out to be true, okay, whatever. But you take that theory and chunk it and move on to the next one. But just to discount everything out of hand because, well, I don't believe that. Well, the only reason you don't believe it is because you've been told how the world is. All of a sudden there's something in your face that's going, no, that's not how the world is. This is what's really going on. No, I don't believe that. No, they told me in school there's no Sasquatch, there's no UFOs. Oh, wait, there was UFOs. The government was lying. Oh, yeah, there are UFOs. Okay, wait a minute. So, then you start scratching your head and questioning. So, fascinating time to be alive right now. Cool. Very cool.
So what can you go into, was there a lot of detail in that FBI report about the interdimensional abilities of Sasquatch, or was it just kind of a generic kind of thing?
It had a FBI letterhead on this letter that was written to somebody who had inquired, and they were responding with documents. I think it was from a FOI, the FOA, Freedom of Information Act. I think it was a response to that, and they sent redacted documents, but they were saying, we will attest to the fact that it appears that they are interdimensional beings. I'll have to find, I know I'll find it, and I'll send it to you. But it just went into great detail that, you know, there's other things that we have seen and known about UFOs and ETs and life on other planets and other dimensions and other universes. So we can't discount that. It was basically what it was saying. Again, I don't know if it was real because I didn't see any fact checking on there. Normally this guy has his fact check stuff, but I saw it at 6 o'clock in the morning, so might not have had time. I'll find it and give it to you.
If there's not a fact check on it, that means it's real.
Yeah. That could be right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But it was a fascinating, but you know how you can cut and paste and make stuff to look like anything, you know. But the fact that the FBI got involved in the Peter Byrne, you know, footprint when he had that DNA study done, and they said it was all redacted and it came back as deer. Well, they switched his samples around, so you never know with what's coming out of the government. But the fact that even that is seeing the light of day is encouraging, because even if that was a fake document, there are other people with credentials who are discussing it in an open and intelligent way so that it's not baloney. This is what we've seen, what we've experienced. And the whole thing is everybody, the people you're talking about are the people coming to you and telling you about these stories. So how do you just tell, you know, 5,000 people you're full of crap? You know, you just can't. You can tell a few of them, maybe 10% are hoaxing and you know, stretching the truth considerably, but there's something going on. We all know that. We all know there's something afoot. No pun intended.
So you've been saying within the last 5 years or whatever, people are starting to accept more of the unusual or paranormal aspects of Sasquatch is becoming more accepted. Is that what you were saying? You've seen that?
Yeah. You know, and I'm, you know, with BFRO.
Yeah, that was my question. Just give me a second. So, and then I'll continue. But so what's going to happen to our friends on the BFRO? Do you think they're going to adapt, or are they just going to go away as more, you know, as it becomes, you know, overwhelmingly evident?
That's a good question, actually. You know, and I, you know, here's the reason I hang on. I've quit doing reports for BFRO because they alter the data. So at least they do with my reports. And I know there's others that have had their reports redacted or totally altered so that the finished product is not what the witness put out there. And so I get a lot of blowback from my witnesses. So that's not what I told you. I said, yeah, no, God, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, they did this. You know, they published a report anyway, but they took out some key stuff. So the database is kind of corrupted. So I'm thinking, well, the reason I'm still there, and if I'm not there tomorrow, that's fine. But because there could be that one report that comes in that sheds light on something, the smoking gun, you just never know. All it takes is one report. And I've met many, many people, habituation people that have ongoing activity going on in their property to this day for 10, 20, 30 years. Generations of families have lived on, you know, and they're having stuff going on. So I think you just want to have access to the biggest database in the world. That's why a lot of people keep their mouth shut. I've talked to several people and that are in there and they don't do reports anymore, but they are totally on the quantum paranormal side. There's no way that these are just flesh and blood, period. I think they have flesh and blood attributes. But to answer your question, I think they're going to slowly transition because some of them are just keeping quiet because they want access to the database, which is the biggest in the world, which selfishly, I admit that I'm there because there could just be that one report that comes through. And 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when I left and came back, there was an ongoing rebirth of interest in the paranormal aspects of Sasquatch. And I talked to Matt and we agreed I was going to go through all the reports, tens of thousands of them. Did I already tell you this before? And I went through the 10 most populous states for reported sightings. Missouri, California, you know, Ohio, Oregon, Washington State, the obvious places, Florida, stuff like that. And they had thousands and thousands of reports that had just been stuck in a file because it had paranormal on it. They weren't even contacting the witnesses. They would just go, oh, that report's baloney. And they would just be filed away and never see the light of day. Well, so I said, you've got a lot of reports here that really are concerning some paranormal aspects that ought to be looked into, And so he had me do this, and I did it for my partner here. We did it for about 6 months or so. And it was like overwhelming the amount of data that never sees the light of day that has paranormal aspects. And they get categorized as hallucinating, UFOs, obvious hoax, delusional, hallucinating, crazy person. And if you don't like what it says, you just bookmark it, put it somewhere else, and nobody.
Did you say it was in the thousands? In the thousands of people who had Sasquatch encounters and some paranormal icing on the cake, something like that, right?
Yeah, either a UFO, an orb, saw it walk through a tree or walk behind the tree and never came out the other side, and there was nothing around it. I mean, just all kinds of things, and talking to them and hearing mind speak, and they're just pigeonholed somewhere else where I'm not even going to investigate this. And you can tell from the investigator that when they're looking at the report, they don't say I contacted the witness and decided they were nuts or yanking my chain or hoaxing. I read the report and put this away and say obvious joke, obvious hallucination, hallucinating insane is one category we have.
Wow,
so
to me, that should not be a footnote. That should be a whole book in itself. Just that little, even though it's only 6 months, but you and your partner got together just to recount all those stories, because that is data. That is academic data.
Yeah.
And you cannot form a good theory without data.
Yeah.
Data is the first thing you do in science. You get the data, and then you can create, a theory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's very, very unfortunate here. Let me see here. I'll see if I can. I'll go in and tell you real quick what. Let's see here. Reports.
Well, while you're doing that, I got a squirrel gift yesterday, the day before. Squirrel gift right on my driveway. It was a poor little dead squirrel.
Oh, who gave it to you?
Sasquatch.
Okay,
that's the second dead squirrel I've gotten.
Okay, update view. I'm gonna get that to you, but anyway, unusable. There is unusable, which could be a variety of reasons. I'm gonna get so I can read, but I know the report classification is. Let's see here. I'll read it this way. It's a lot easier. Unusable, unreachable, likely misinterpretation, obvious joke, assumed hoax, admitted hoax, paranormal, UFO, insane, or hallucinating. So that's our choices, or Class A or B. Class A is a physical one-on-one sighting. Class B is, well, I heard a call or saw a shape in the forest. Class C is a secondhand story. So, but those are your choices: insane, hallucinating, paranormal, UFO, obvious joke, likely misinterpretation. A lot of that stuff gets categorized, and they don't even bother contacting the witnesses because, either they did and didn't put it in the notes. What you're supposed to do is put it in the notes. I talked to this guy, and he was drunk, and he was talking about, the Sasquatch came in my house and, made love to my aunt, and they had tea afterwards, and then it left and said goodbye. I mean, those kind of things, and you do get those. So those are obvious things, but that's our choices. And so I stopped, Brian and I stopped after, a month, 6 weeks. I said, man, there's just too many in here, and too many investigators just stuck them in here because they don't believe it. That's their mindset. I don't believe that. It's just flesh and blood. I'm just going to go to the class A or B and leave all the other esoteric stuff out of there. Totally unfair, totally wrong. It's just not, like you said, it's science, it's data, it's empirical data. Whether you believe it or not, it comprises a percentage of the people that are having events, and it should be out there, but it's not. Very unfortunate.
So you went through a lot of these, right?
Yeah.
Can you give us some of the more memorable ones that you remember?
Yeah. One of them, I actually put it in the out there, and I got no response. Was a woman was coming back. It's Washington State. She was coming back from home late at night at work. She was driving through, the forest up there in the peninsula, in winding road late at night, dark, wooded, forest, heavy forest. And she heard this voice. I just want to be left alone. Just came into her head. I want to be left alone. And she's, what is that? What is that? Then as soon as she heard that voice, she came around a curve, and there at a cabin back in the woods, you could see 4 or 5 sheriff's cars, and they had lights around. You could tell they're obviously looking for somebody. And she heard that voice again. I just want to be left alone. Please just leave me alone. And she pulled up and said, hey, what's going on? I said, well, you're gonna have to leave. We've got a prowler thing here. But she heard that, and it was, I just want to be left alone. Where did it come from? There was a Sasquatch there that was trying to probably, and now I'm vomiting a conclusion here, that it was trying to interact with the people, and they weren't taking it the right way. So the cops were called, and it said, I just want to be left alone. She just heard that in her head as she was driving through this scene. So she pulled over to the side of the road, and after about 10 or 15 minutes, all the cops got in and they drove away and left. But it was just like, and I talked to her for a minute. She said, I cannot explain it. I'm not a psychic person. I was coming home from work. I was tired, but I wasn't delirious. I wasn't drinking, obviously. I'm coming home from work 11:30 at night. I don't remember what she did. But but that report was pigeonholed away. Nobody followed up on it. I looked at it and I went, well, they didn't contact the witness and say, well, I talked to the lady and she was obviously nuts, or she had a couple of beers, or nothing. There was nothing done. It was just put away. And so that happens a lot, and so very frustrating, and I've had Matt tell me before, well, you're just impressionable. You're gullible. We don't want people to think you're gullible. We promote reports like this. Well, everyone's going to think you're gullible. You'll believe anything. I said, Matt, I've been doing this 12 years. I've talked to 350 people at least, and I can tell when someone's yanking my chain, and I've been yanked by the best. I think maybe one person got by, and I quickly figured that out and let him have it. But the point is, you can't just, like Mike was saying, that's data, and it just goes into the dustbin and never sees it. And there's at least, out of 32,000 or so reports that are on BFRO or have gone through the portal of BFRO, there's probably at least a couple of thousand that involve UFO orbs, lights, right after or before, sometimes during a Sasquatch sighting. How do you just go, ain't nothing there? You can't do that. If it's one report out of 100 or 200, okay, but you get 3 or 4 or 5% with some kind of paranormal aspect, it's just wrong.
The thing is, you don't ask the question. Like here we are, we're kind of like paranormal friends and buddies with Sasquatch, but if you ask the question, have you ever had mind speak? Did you ever hear something in your head that was not your own voice? And then you have a category for that, mind speak people, like Kawani Laparditis. He's got a list of, I think it's around 300 people who have reported to him that they've had mind speak, and he's not out there doing research. It's just the people. He's a speaker and an author, and people send him stories.
Yeah.
So that's,
I had thought about contacting Matt, and I may do it. I already know the answer, but I say, give me access. You've got a whole pile of stuff there. it could be used for research. There could be something there. You're gonna, you know, if you have 1,000 reports of orbs or lights during a Sasquatch thing, you're gonna have certain things that all sound the same coming from all these different people. You're gonna have things that match up. You got 1,000 reports. You got 300 of them that say, well, there was a blue orb that appeared as soon as the Sasquatch left, or UFO came down and landed, or you're going to have some commonality in, I'd say, at least 10 or 20% of your reports. Well, that's important stuff.
The UFO researchers have actually reported UFOs and Sasquatch together, orbs and Sasquatch together.
Mhm.
So they've got 50 years a run, advanced or 70 years on the Sasquatch people. So there's people who've looked deeper into these things. So it's the Sasquatch people with the orbs, the Sasquatch people with paranormal activity around and after, and then Sasquatch people with the UFOs. So. And like when we started the story, when we started talking, I was talking about how Ray Hernandez was taken, and ETs asked him to do a report on all these psychic phenomena, and to me that was like one of the most important things that has ever happened on the earth, because what they're saying is we are coming, right? The ET people saying we are coming. We're going to have open contact. It was just in August that the 50-year agreement of silence was when they came out with the Tic Tac videos.
Yeah.
So to be in a relationship with the star nations, of which there are thousands that can come and visit us on once we become an open world, you're gonna need to know what it is to have mind speak. You can't, because these people are gonna need people who can mind speak and people who are not afraid of strange humanoid beings,
Yeah.
who have a tourist industry of off-world people.
Yeah. Come to Uranus for a weekend of fun and frolic with your family.
Yeah.
So what is it with what is it with Matt? Is he just like closed-minded, or is he scared of his reputation being tarnished? I mean, how can somebody receive that many reports and with so many similarities in the reports and just totally disregard them? I mean, what's going on?
Can't get into his head, but my opinion is he has a TV show to protect. And they're selling a lot of tampons and beer and beef jerky and pharmaceuticals, and advertisers are happy. So if you start throwing all that stuff in there, and he's explained this to me in so many ways that well, I just can't throw all that stuff in there. It's hard enough to get people to believe in Sasquatch in the first place. Then you start throwing in the paranormal.
That's BS. Don't you remember all the Ghostbuster
oh yeah.
Ghostbusters and Ghost Seekers and all that kind of stuff? That was, I think there's still some of those things going on. So that's just pure paranormal there.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if you're even talking about Sasquatch, you're already weird on a subject matter that's, controversial. We'll just throw in all the other stuff on top, because it's how you get to things. People are going to laugh at you anyway because you saw or believe in Sasquatch or the possibility of. So why not just talk about everything that goes with it? You lose some people, you're going to get more people up. You're going to, the ones you're trying to protect. I have this TV show and we can't throw the paranormal in. I've had some really excellent reports that had some key data redacted, and it's just it's a shame, because and you could have a disclaimer on the BFRO website. The opinions of the researchers and witnesses are not necessarily those of BFRO. We put this here for your enjoyment and research, and do with it what you may. That's all you got to do is put a disclaimer that we don't. But I think even having that in there soils his nest. Don't know, I can't read his mind, but it just, why be so close-minded, And there's a lot of people that are in BFRO that believe, like I believe in us, or very close to it. They believe in at least some of the possibilities, and they just keep their mouth shut. because
So
they want
I-
access to the
Are you
database.
saying Matt does not believe this, any of this stuff then, or he just doesn't want to admit it, or he just doesn't because protecting the show? I mean, what's your opinion?
Well, when I left due to some politics a while back, and and when I came back, when I left, there was this philosophy or mission statement in place that was, we just do not discuss woo, as they described it. We had a thing called the Blue Forum where we could go online and discuss in a closed forum that was only for investigators, talk about all the stuff that was going on. And when people start talking about, the paranormal and the esoteric stuff and quantum, we're not going to talk about that. We don't discuss that, period, end of conversation. When I left, I came back, things had relaxed a bit and people were discussing that, not publicly, but in the forum, and there was no redaction, no, document coming down from on high. Hey, we don't talk about that. So things had relaxed a little bit. And so Matt and I had a long conversation about doing the research I was talking about, looking at all those reports that have been pigeonholed away. And so he was willing to have me do that. So we worked on it for a while, and it just got to be overwhelming because the amount of data, I wanted to get to my reports and get the stuff out that's happening. Well, that would take way too much time. I would take away from my reports, and so I wanted to get that out. But to me, that was more important because this was like a Mount Everest of data just sitting there. And I said, oh my God, I could do this for 5 years and maybe get somewhere. So there was an open-mindedness to that. And then they got the show and that went away. And then that's how it's been ever since, But I talked to at least a dozen folks that believe, but they just keep their mouth shut because they want access to the database, which is corrupted to a degree.
But going back to the ETs, they want to show that it's all one and it's all connected, and we got to know that. I have friends. I actually have a friend, and I've heard several stories about people who've flown ET craft. They go up on the craft. They're talking to their buddies they've known most of their life, and the captain says, "Oh look, just go over there, sit in the seat. You can fly the craft." And they sit in the seat and put their hand on the thing and they fly the craft. You know how they do it? They do it with their mind.
Yeah, their mind and their hands are on like
Yeah. So like flying and it, to me, it's like, it's kind of important to know that this paranormal stuff is being used throughout the whole galaxy. That's how they talk to each other from different languages. And that's how they fly their craft. It's kind of interesting. I mean, that's, to me, would be pretty significant. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So why throw that out, or why throw the paranormal out when it seems like it's one of the hinge pins of what makes the whole galaxy run?
I can't, and the conspiracy theorist in me, because there are a lot of groups out there that do offer nothing but disinformation and argue till the death about the paranormal and quantum aspects. There's no way that's baloney, that's bull crap, that doesn't exist, you're full of crap, have you ever seen it, give me proof, that kind of stuff, when you're just talking about esoteric stuff. So maybe there's a disinformation program going on, Lord forbid that they're involved in it, but I can't imagine that the government is not monitoring everything we're doing and saying about Sasquatch. As soon as we get too close, some of these groups pop up, or somebody pops up with some kind of damning evidence against evidence that we consider to be good. I mean, the disinformation continues until they're ready for us to know something, and they're just not ready. So, I think there are people. It can't be that you're driven so hard to find fault and show disdain for evidence or events that you would just blindly shoot to the negative. I mean, you've got to have some crack in your mind of open mind, but some of these groups are just so full of hate and venom that no matter what you say, it's just forget it, you're full of crap. And so where's that coming from? I mean, go ahead.
I think that in some cases, I mean, there's been a lot of people who have been investigating Sasquatch for many, many years. But if the Sasquatch don't want to connect with them, if they don't have an interest in teaching them or have some kind of connection with them, they're not going to show them anything. So they can't fathom that this could be happening to others because, you know, there's that.
They choose you. You've been chosen. I mean,
yeah. But you know, like some guys, yeah, but
so,
yeah, of course. But
and some people are chosen. I'm not coming near you because you're an a-hole. There's no way in the world I want to share my secrets with you because you're going to do nothing with it that's any good, you know. And so, yeah, it's just a weird thing. But you know how the Sasquatch world is so divided, and the outright hate and negativity is just so over the top. It's suspicious to me, you know, that someone is that full of venom and hate and negativity and disbelief. But part of me pities them because they are taught from an early age. And so the open mind didn't open until it's way too late, perhaps. And you go, well, that kind of makes sense. That explains that. But no. I don't know. They don't exist. Never mind. I don't believe it. Never mind. No, they don't exist. But, you know, there has to be a part of them. They're just going, why am I saying this stuff? You know, there's converts, but it's much more mainstream. And when I put out my first book and everyone, you know, I didn't get a lot of blowback, and I don't get a lot of it on the second one, because I think there's a hidden majority of fellow researchers. I'm not talking about book buyers or people that are interested, but it's just that I think there's a hidden majority that are going, you know, I'm glad he's saying, I'm glad it ain't me, because I sure wouldn't want to put my butt out there, but I'm glad he's saying something, you know, let him, you know, get burned at the stake and not me. So I think there's some of that going on. And so I don't mind, you know, putting my butt out there, because if people laugh and make fun of me, I don't care. I was a comic. I had people laughing at me all my life. I don't care.
If you've got data,
yeah,
you know, if you've got the data, there's no burning at the stake.
Yeah.
Because data is data.
They're going to argue with the data. That's the whole thing.
They can argue all they want, but they, you know, they still have you know.
But the ones that would support it, there's not enough of them yet. They're coming through, and you know, a lot of BFRO people have bought my book, and they secretly go, okay, very, very intriguing. Let me know when the second one comes out. So there's an undercurrent of, okay, you know, and they're hearing some of these same things that I've been putting out there, but they can't say anything about it, because they don't want to lose the connection to BFRO and the expeditions and the database, you know. And so, which, you know, okay, whatever. That I understand. You know, you like the status quo. You like to be able to do reports and get your data out there to the database and see what's going on around you, and you don't want to interrupt that. And that's all good. But I'm just kind of past all that, because there's something else. And we all know there's something else, and it's just being quashed. Very frustrating, you know, just very irritating, you know.
It would be amazing if you could get access to all that material. There's a treasure trove of material on the stuff that they disregarded and put in the trash bin. I mean, can you imagine putting together all the orb things, all the different categories or whatever, and just, I mean, what an amazing book that would be.
Yeah, I just hope there's not a disinformation agenda rather than just an omission agenda with BFRO. Two different things.
Well, there's one thing though. At least that stuff has not been thrown out. At least it's tucked away somewhere. So there's a possibility one day it could be accessed and resourced.
The database storage is another thing. If you're going to get rid of some stuff to make room for your database and your storage, all the gigabytes, terabytes, whatever, some stuff's going to have to go to make way for other stuff. We all know which.
Oh, that's BS. You can buy 2 terabytes for $65, and the whole BFRO site would sit in 2 terabytes.
Oh, I've got 8 terabytes on my computer here, and I
There you
haven't
go.
used.
See, that's what I'm saying. It's like 65 bucks.
Yeah, I spent $100. I've got more. My remote storage has more storage than my computer. It's ridiculous. I wonder why they don't put that in computers. That's a whole other story. So yeah, it's just a source of frustration and irritation. And it's not fair to the public, that they should know and make their own decisions. And it's going to come out, and if it comes out that this has been going on, then they're going to have to do some wiping the egg off the face real quick. And it may be too late for that. I don't know.
Well, I hope you do check out that Dr. Edgar Mitchell Foundation, because you'll see how lacking the Sasquatch community is in accumulating data, all data. You know what I mean? Time of day, year, family history, all that kind of stuff. It's just there's a shocking lack of data. Right now we have a lot of anecdotal evidence, but until it gets categorized and put in percentages and pie charts, you can't understand what it is.
Yeah.
For all we know, a good solid 20% of everybody who's out there having Sasquatch experiences are having paranormal experiences. How about the hair raising up on your arm? I bet you almost everybody out there does not call that a paranormal experience. But to have nothing around you and the hair lifts up on your arm, that's pretty much paranormal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, my guy in Canada has a great story about the hair and the guys coming out of the woods being chased by a creature that they didn't say they saw, but they were new. Their hair, some of them had long shoulder length hair. Their hair was standing straight up with goosebumps. And they come running back to the van after coming through the forest. And out of 12 guys, 6 of them, and their hair was literally, when they took them back in the van and drove them to the regional forestry office, their hair never relaxed. Their goosebumps were like pimples, and their hair was just sticking straight up as hard as a rock. They couldn't make it lay down. That's some scared momojomos. You know what I mean? These guys were absolutely hysterical beyond themselves. And it took 30, 40 minutes for the hair to finally subside and relax. That is something bizarre. And see, again, when people go, well, that's just a hoax that the guy's making. How do you make that stuff up? I mean, that is, that's Hollywood writing right there. To have your hair like you've got your hand on a Van de Graaff generator, it's sticking straight up. Some of these guys had ponytails. I mean, little long hair. And, how do you fake that? How do you make that story up? How do you, come up with that? I guess it's possible. Look at some of the movies we watch. But in the scheme of things and in the situation at hand, that is as real and as true as it gets. So, that is paranormal, that is abstract, that is Sasquatch or ET or something has freaked you out so bad that your hair looks like you've got on 5 cans of hairspray. You look like a punk rocker. Your hair is like sticking straight up, stiff as a board.
Another one is the feeling of being watched. There's actually been academic studies, to as the paranormal activity where you stare at somebody across the room and, and then they see what percentage of the people can tell when they're being watched and stuff like that. But that's like, I hear about that all the time. Yeah. I feel like I'm being followed. I feel like I was being watched. I feel like somebody was, and that's paranormal. So what I'm saying is I've almost never heard of a Sasquatch story that didn't have a paranormal attribute to it, including the aftermath. If somebody just sees a Sasquatch walk in front of them and it was, but then they remember that for 20 or 30, 40 years. And then all kind of other things start to happen to them. You know what I mean? That's the aftermath of that's also paranormal,
Yeah.
And just the mere fact of people being enticed or addicted or entranced by the Sasquatch people. Look, I've almost been killed by an African crocodile, right? A Nile crocodile. But and I've also been in a closet with a full-grown king cobra, which can kill an elephant, right? And I've had that thing within an arm's length. This is an arm length right here, from here to there, elbow to have that thing that close to my crotch, okay? In a closet where I couldn't get away. I'm not a king cobra researcher. I'm not a African crocodile researcher. You know what I'm saying? There's something about the Sasquatch where you see him, whatever the reaction is, maybe it's fear, or maybe it's just see him across the valley, or, you know what I mean? And then people get all enticed by it. To me, that is also there's a paranormal aspect to that, a connection. Something happened to that person that made their radar go up and made them join groups and made them watch videos. Yeah.
No, yeah. And so, and paranormal is a dirty word if you put it in the SASQUATCH category, according to some researchers. Well, because paranormal is not a dirty word. Woo is more of a dirty word than paranormal. Paranormal just means outside of normal. It doesn't mean anything other than that. It just means out of the ordinary, inexplicable by, traditional means. It's not like, that was kind of weird. That was kind of creepy. Well, paranormal is not a dirty word. They're for things you can't explain that might have explanations, but you just can't explain it at the time it occurs to you. Maybe you explain it later. Maybe somebody else explains it for you, and you do some research and go, "Oh, that's what it was." Okay, but it's not a dirty word. But you have to put that all in. And when I'm talking to my witnesses, I don't ask them, "Is there anything else? Is there anything weird?" I'm not leading them. I don't go, "Well, did you see anything else? Have you got anything weird to tell me?" I wait and there's that awkward silence at the end of a lot of interviews where they've told me their story, and then there's this awkward silence, and we're kind of talking and kind of sort of saying goodbyes. Well, it's been really great, and they'll go, there's one other thing I want to tell you, and you're gonna think it's weird or I'm crazy. I said, well, you just told me you saw a Sasquatch that doesn't really exist, and I don't think you're crazy. So nothing else you're going to tell me is going to make me think you're crazy. So give it to me. Let's hear it, because I haven't laughed at him or scoffed at him. So I don't beg them or ask them. That's one way of leading somebody. So I don't do that. And 95% of the time, if they got something else to tell me, they tell me, because they're comfortable with the interview process. I'm not going, well, were you smoking? Did you have a couple of beers while you were fishing? Did you, did you ever fight with your wife and you were, mad and seeing things, or whatever? So they don't have explanations. They don't even try to explain it. They just say, I can't explain it, but I know what I saw. And it's just, it's a cliche, I know what I saw and you can't take it away. Well, that's true. It's your reality. No one can take it away. I'm not going to change your mind, and I'm not going to try to explain it for you because you're not able to do it yourself. If you saw something or experienced something, you can't explain. Goosebumps, feeling of being watched, somebody's behind me. What you're feeling. And that's part of our.
I had an intuition I wasn't supposed to go in the woods, or I had an intuition I had to get out of there. Those are psychic tags.
Yeah. And it's probably what kept us alive when we were first coming along as humans.
Got that right.
That's what kept us from getting a spear in the back or getting attacked by a saber-toothed tiger. Something tells you, like, I better look around, or I think there's something over there in that bush. Let me look again. There's something. You're aware enough of your surroundings to realize there's something else there you ought to, pay attention to, like a car about to run a red light. You get a funny feeling, that guy's not going to stop. I better, there's something that enlightens you to what's going on. Some of it's really, major stuff. Some of it's minor. But there's something. It's inbred in humans. That's part of our survival thing, fight or flight. There's something behind me. I don't know what it is. I can't see it. I'm even more freaked out. I'm out of here. So there's something there. Like you say, it's something that has gotten us to this point in life. to not kill us or eat us while we're in the woods or wherever we're having our events. So yeah, it's just, and I keep telling myself I'm going to have a, chat with, BFRO, and I just haven't done it. And I kind of, half of me already knows what the, response is going to be. So, but I should just get it off my chest.
Would they, do you think they would block you from doing that research?
Probably. Well, I would just be honest and say, hey, I'm not going to tell the agenda I have because I don't want to explain it in front of people, but I would just say, here's my plan. Let's shoot for it. What do you think? Say yes or no. So I wouldn't do anything if he said no. I wouldn't do anything, but it'd be really frustrating to know that that's all there and I can't do anything with it.
You wouldn't even have to play it straight. You could do it just exactly, take it right off exactly as they have it, was the UFOs, the unreliable, the hoaxers. And if you just made a book out of that, then people would say, okay, this is what a hoaxer looks like, says, this is what somebody who's had a UFO and, and then this is what somebody who, what I mean? That would make a fantastic book. You wouldn't have to make any kind of commentary and value judgment at all. People would be able to see for themselves.
The only thing I'd have to do is get permission to put that in a book form.
That'd be great. I mean, so you wouldn't.
But that is the $27 billion question, is getting permission to do that. I don't see it happening.
I think that would be fascinating. I mean, people always talk about hoaxers. I've never even met a hoaxer. I don't even know what a hoaxer looks like. I've just heard rumors of hoaxers. But if you actually had data of what a hoaxer looks like in their report, I think that's important information.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good point. And it's just something I sort of, in my head, I already know what the answer is, so I'm just not even going to bother with it. I've got plenty of stuff going on now, information-wise, data-wise, on the stuff people are experiencing. And so I just don't go there. But it's a source of frustration. And there's, but there's so much stuff that we all hear and experience that there's plenty of stuff to go on. You want to convince the people that are on the fence to jump off the fence one way or the other. At least look at the data and see what you think. If you're of the mindset that there's no way that can be, because I believe what I was taught when I was, 2 years old, 3 years old, preschool, on to 21 years old out of college, then that's my belief system and you can't change it. And that's fine. If you're happy and you don't have questions about all this stuff, the world that is presented to you, if you're happy with it the way it is, you go to school, you get educated, you get a job, you meet a girl, you meet a guy, you have babies, you make a family, you buy a house, you do all that stuff, and you die and go off and everything's happy. If you don't have any questions about the way the world's presented to you, that's all fine and good. If it makes your life, if you're happy and you see no reason to expand on that, okay. It's just for the people that question things because they don't make sense and there's more to the world that is around us. Those are the people that need to come forward and need to, take some ownership of some of the potential belief system. Those are the ones you want to give a voice to,
some of these stories and whatever and accounts are like beyond like something that Spielberg could come up with. And yet you see like all kinds of people are saying the same thing. And, these are ordinary people who are not that creative,
and they're not related.
Cases. What's
they
that?
Don't know each other. They haven't even seen these reports.
No, and yet the same consistencies are apparent in so many of the stories. I mean, it's just, it's ludicrous to think that something isn't happening for these people.
Yeah.
But you've got the patience of Job, because I just could not. I couldn't put up with that. I would the closed-mindedness of these people. I just don't have the patience to put up with it. And I know why you do, because there's some, you can garner some gems or whatever, or read between the lines and you can connect with different stories and people and stuff like that and do your own kind of research. But my God, it must be frustrating.
It is. It keeps you up at night sometimes, but I'm a poker player and I will wait you out. If I can't, and I'm not trying to convince anybody, but if my data just isn't seeing the light of day, I think it will eventually, because I do see a gradual shift of consciousness and consideration of esoteric things and quantum aspects of behaviors that can't be explained by what we're taught. And it's slowly coming out. It just, I see it. I know you see it and sense it. I mean, look what you're going through. And so you've got a form and a sense of enlightenment that you are welcoming and absorbing and experiencing and sharing. That's a really cool thing. A lot of people don't have that and never will, but it's all part of the indoctrination and educational system of finding out what's really going on in the world. We're owed that as humans. We're all, I saw a really good saying the other day, we're all made out of stardust, we're all the same color other than latitude and location of our skin colors and stuff. We're, our body styles are sort of adaptive to our environment that we are living in at the moment. We all come from the Middle East. So we're all one. We're all the same stardust. We're all so one thing, but somebody else controls the information that they don't want us to have because it's power. Knowledge is power, and power, controls and corrupts. Look at the war machine. Why do we not know this, that, and the other? Well, because we got the technology. We don't want the Russians or the Chinese to get it quick, so we're gonna sit on it until we figure it out and master it. Then we'll tell everybody about it. Maybe it's the same with just spiritual information. When people say they saw God and they saw an apparition, they saw the Virgin Mary. How do you don't question those people? So why would you question other things? I'm not putting Sasquatch on a biblical level with, but it's the same thing. You hear odd things. Biblically speaking, you're more inclined to believe that stuff because it's been in the Bible for thousands of years. So, okay, there's a pigeonhole there. There's a crack in the foundation right there. We can say, well, there's angels and Ezekiel's wheel and all that kind of, there's stuff that's accepted, and it's as bizarre or more bizarre than the stuff I'm trying to share. I mean,
yeah, but in a lot of cases, in the religious cases, I mean, with a lot of Christianity or whatever, God and Jesus and whatever are the only people who can do that.
Yeah.
Any being who, whatever, that has attributes that are similar to what is written about in the Bible, that's demonic or whatever. So there's a closed-minded aspect there.
Yeah.
So
Sasquatch, Nephilim,
yeah.
And at the paranormal conference I was at, my booth and the guy next to me, who was a UFO expert, he's a former nuclear physicist. He has a degree in nuclear physics from Oxford, I think. He's from Britain or Europe, England, somewhere. My booth and his, we were surrounded to where nobody could get to us by a religious group that was questioning everything and saying it loudly. And of course, UFOs and ETs and Sasquatch, Nephilim, devil, fallen angels, that was their whole thing. And so they were asked to leave eventually. They called the cops and got them out of there. But it was a very loud and boisterous type of thing and calling attention, because they don't want you talking about that. This is what we believe. Well, you're cramming your stuff down my throat. I'm going to cram it back down your throat. So it's just bizarre, but there are so many sides and there's so many divisive groups, religious, paranormal, or otherwise. Have an open mind. If you're religious, the creator, whoever it is, made the entire world and the entire universe. If they are all of his doing, how is one evil and one not? I mean, how do you just say, well, this is good and that's bad? Well, that's bad because I don't believe in it, so it must be bad. It's just such a bizarre cluster.
Yeah. And if you look into it closely, there's not really a lot of conflict in most cases. It's just perceived as conflict, but it's really not.
Yeah.
A lot of the ideas and what they're talking about are very similar and can be married, together.
Yeah. So it's very frustrating, but I'm meeting so many awesome and intelligent people when I talk to these witnesses, and even the lady that came up and was talking to me about the Sasquatch wearing a suit and slacks and a shirt and tie walking on, but she described the behavior perfectly as it is described so often the way Sasquatch walk, with their butts in the air, back arched, and they're on their hands and feet, not hands and knees, which is how we would walk, which is easier. But anyway, so some of that stuff, unless you've done your research and come up with a story to tell, you got to remember that story over and over and over. Well, how about if it's just what you saw and I don't care what you think, this is what I saw. I'm going to tell you what I saw. And so then you get into, we were discussing, maybe they want to appear to be, like us and able to do things in our world somehow, some way, shape, or form. And so they appear to us in a way that we can relate to, which is odd. A Sasquatch with a suit and tie wearing a clown outfit, because I can hear the snickering now, but how do you, well, I know how you say no to that. You just go, well, that's impossible. That person's on drugs or they're just crazy,
Very key point. It sounds outlandish and whatever, but this lady, who obviously wasn't an expert on things, she described that walk exactly as you know it. And I mean, she couldn't come up with that unless she saw it. It just doesn't, it's not rational that she could have.
And that's what gave me validity to her thing.
Yeah, exactly.
She didn't even see it at first. She was watching the guy next to her freaking out in his car. And he, I asked her, well, did he look like he was like listening to headbanging music and he was, doing all this? Is there any way you could have? She goes, no. He was like panic stricken. His eyes were bulging out. He was sobbing. He was like just totally bonkers. And then she noticed the creature walking across the street. So you just go, that's way too much attention to detail to try to scam a Bigfoot guy at a paranormal conference. I mean, why go to that much trouble? And, she was reluctant and timid. She wasn't like, I don't give a shit if you don't believe me. It's just, this is what I saw, and just listen to this. And I'm going, my God, it took a lot of guts for you to say that, knowing that you were probably going to get scoffed at. She probably had been laughed at before, because I could tell from her timidity that she was like, I got to say this. I got to tell somebody. I'm going to blow it out,
Yeah.
And
but to reiterate, once she said about that walk or whatever, you had no doubt that she was telling the truth.
No,
because it's literally impossible for her to have come up with that, I think, unless
she was a serial hoaxer or something and decided to come up with that. But that's a lot of work, and it was just 20 miles from my house if I go due west, and that's a Native American country. The Indian tribes out in Kansas, this part of Kansas, we're in Missouri, but in Kansas, they own a lot of tribal land and they have casinos on the land. So, and I've taken reports out of the Potawatomi Nation out there in Topeka, Kansas, in that area, of Sasquatch reports. Women, white women married to Native American men, you do not discuss that. And she got in a lot of trouble. This one lady told me a report of a Sasquatch sighting. It was just a traditional sighting. She was a school bus driver and she saw one, but she got in a lot of trouble for discussing Sasquatch coming off a Indian reservation, because we don't talk about that, because we know what white man thinks. We don't share our heritage or our events. That's why we don't have a written language. It's all handed down and we don't discuss that. We don't want it put out there for everyone to think. We don't want people coming here, white men or otherwise, looking to kill a Sasquatch or come invading our privacy and our sanity. So it's just, gosh, I could go on and on, but I won't. What time is it? Oh, we're getting late. But anyway, it's just a fascinating thing. And I think the world, it's like there's going to be a paranormal renaissance. I can't think of any other way to say it. There's just going to be a coming of age when we're suddenly going to go, that's it. what's the big deal? You know, people are kind of used to the fact of maybe there's UFOs and life elsewhere. That's not like a big deal. If you really do a cross section, I think people go, oh yeah, I've seen stuff. I hear stuff. My aunt saw one. My grandfather saw one. They're not, I don't think we're all that shocked by it because we know.
You said it's getting late. Does that mean you have to go soon?
Yeah, I've got to go in a little bit. I can go 15 minutes, but
15
it's just
minutes?
like 15 minutes.
We usually go 4 hours.
Oh yeah, well it's an hour and a half. Well, I got a schedule, but anyway, the people are not that impressed with the Tic Tac video. We've known that. I mean, that people just take for granted we're not alone, but the media tells us that people are going to be freaked out if they hear this. We can't, we're not alone in the world, but it's slowly coming to the point where that line of defense is ridiculous. You got to come up with another story. Because people, I don't think are going to be that shocked if there's creatures here walking among us, Sasquatch included. They're already here. They've been integrated into our society, and other ETs that look just like us or can take on the forms and shapes. I mean, you can't say no because you can't prove that it doesn't. It's a possibility.
It's amazing how close-minded people are, and some of them get absolutely angry when you discuss it.
Mm-hmm. Well, everybody feels like they have to side.
Let me just. I saw a Sasquatch walk across the path in a wooded area, right, a while ago, and a bunch of other amazing stuff was happening that day too. But I saw this old fella coming up, and we started talking, and he seemed like a nice enough guy, whatever. And then I said, "Oh, you won't believe what I saw," and then I mentioned Sasquatch, and he started screaming and yelling at me. I've seen the Lord. I've seen Jesus. Like he was just like he was practically frothing at the mouth with anger. Like he just, it was like startling. He just like he was literally screaming. So there's quite the bridge to gap for some people. What's that?
You said a dirty word. You mentioned the Sasquatch, which is a Nephilim or maybe a fallen angel, depending on your religious.
I wonder why the religious people, the only people I've ever heard talk about demons are the hardcore Christian guys. They talk about demons, demon this and demon that, and
Well, it's another pigeonholed area where, if it's Sasquatch and Lord made them, they must be the fallen angels. They're in those days there were giants in the land. And, the red-haired giants and the Nephilim, the fallen angels, that they've been assigned the title of fallen angels. So now they're bad. Well, that's one way to discredit the Sasquatch. Is call them fallen angels, and they're the bad people. Maybe there is a Nephilim, maybe there is fallen angels, but why they've been assigned to the Sasquatch, don't know. That could be because people saw them and they were frightened, and they must be the devil. I mean, and that description goes back into biblical times. So how are we going to combat that? We really can't. That's your belief system, and it's there, and it's touted by some of the hardcore Christians, like you said. You're not going to convince them. You just move on because they're as entrenched as we are in our beliefs. But we're not hateful about it. They seem to be fanatically upset about our belief system.
I think you got a lot of wounded, broken people out, in this world.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm wounded and broken, but not legally. I mean, I've not been diagnosed as a wounded or crazy man, so I can still walk the streets. But yeah, there's a lot of people that are hurt and just shocked by things, and and they retreated into a corner, and they'll just have to come around, and maybe they never will. Maybe they're perfectly happy where they're at. There's just people that don't question things, don't want to know because they're happy with the world the way it is. So that's fine. That's them. But other people like us and others, many others, are starting to question this. It's just not making sense, not adding up. No way, shape, or form is it adding up. So
the only way it actually makes sense is if the paranormal is real, psychic abilities is real, invisibility is real, orbs are real. When you take that in the mix, then it all makes sense.
Yeah.
It's all one, it's all connected.
Yeah, but that flies in the face of what we've been taught for decades and decades, as long as we've been alive. I remember what they told us in school. I mean, there's no such thing as this, that, and the other. And so, that's just what you believe until you start questioning something you see. You have to have an inquisitive mind. You have to see something and go, that doesn't make sense. That's not what they taught me in Bible school. That's not what they taught me in high school or college. That's not in any of the books. How'd that happen? How can I explain that? Then that's when you start questioning. So and there's people out there with inquisitive minds. Like I say, you're brainwashed from start. So you have an uphill battle to start, taking these things apart and analyzing them and going, like you just said, paranormal, quantum, esoteric, abstract skill sets is really the only way to explain that. And, science will tell us those are possible, but they don't give you really examples. The black holes and, portals and dimensions and interstellar travel. How do you go back 5,000 years in 10 minutes? Well, you slip a portal, you slip a dimension. There's wormholes, there's black holes, there's all kinds of theoretical explanations that explain that. You don't have to believe it all, but you have to at least consider it, because that's theory. And they'll prove that it's true, or they'll prove that it was not a good theory and you move on to something else. But, that's how we come to, a learning and understanding of the world that's around us. It's just bizarre, our perception of the world. And that's just because, what we've been told and taught over the years, and, really not much you can do about that.
So what's your drop dead date for when you have to leave? When do you actually have to leave our wonderful, amazing show?
I got to be out of here in about 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Oh,
Yeah.
you got another 30 minutes?
No, I've got to be out of here within 30 minutes. So I got to be here. I got about another 15 because I got to get ready and go. I got a professional appointment to do today.
Well, you're gonna miss the second half of the show then. I think maybe you want to discuss my camp out a little bit, Beans, for a while.
You can if you want to.
I've got some pictures lined up and whatever. I just had a camp out. I just had a camp out actually. The 4th RE and family camp out. Man, oh man, some wild stuff going on there. Healings, guys having their first experiences, all kinds of neat stuff.
Hit me.
Yeah, happens every time. I mean, these when they come to RE's event, it's not my event. I just facilitate it. It's by invitation, and it's not by me. The Sasquatch people invite them. So, yeah, you'll have to listen to the replay there, Carter.
Oh, well, here's.
Hey, I wanted to ask you. So, if you've only got a few minutes, and keep that point, give us maybe one of your favorite stories, or titillate the audience with something.
Let me catch up real quick since we're at the end of the show with some of the comments. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Kevin Royce says, hey, awesome to have you guys live today. And Greg Yost, hey, Greg, he said, good morning, brothers.
Hey, Greg.
Stuart Clark, good morning. Randy Bell, hey, good morning, family. Sky Peterson, good morning, peeps. Hi, Sky. Susan Bland, good morning. I guess it's morning over wherever they live. It's afternoon for me. Renee Shrian, good morning. And Kevin Royce had a comment. He says, viewing a being as demonic or angelic is a fairly simplistic view. I think a lot of people view a being as demonic if it causes them to panic and abject terror. Therefore, it must be bad or evil.
Yep.
However, the Bible does say to judge to judge a being by its fruit. My experience with the Sasquatch and the other beings does not support a demonic view of them. In fact, it's quite the opposite. So
Yeah.
Those are all really good comments.
Yeah, they are. That's a very good way of putting it. Because, like I say, you're taught to fear it. And so if you're scared of it, it must be bad. I mean, that's just, you go back to children's fairy tales and stories and, even biblical stuff. It depends on the interpretation of the person relating the experience to you. If you see a gorilla or a dog man or a lion or a tiger, you're instantly afraid because they can kill you and eat you and you learn to be afraid. But, most often that's not the case. So yeah, it's just a tragic way of doing it, but that's how we are indoctrinated into not believing things and pigeonholing them into like being evil or satanic. It's really sad, really, really sad. You know, one of the best reports I have had in the last couple of years was a guy that went, if you got time for this, if not, he went camping with two buddies. And this was when COVID first hit. And they lived in Texas, where they decided to go to Oklahoma to go camping, where his family always went camping. They just wanted to get away because they just shut the country down and their work hours were cut and they were just tired of all the crap. So they went camping. And so him and two other guys, they went to this area in Oklahoma. And this is a published report. And so all they had was flashlights and their phones and some matches and lighters. They got to the campsite. They pitched their tent. They made a fire ring. They put a bunch of rocks around in a circle and they made a fire ring. And they were just going to explore all the next day. Well, it started raining and thundering. Their fire went out, so they, went inside and went to bed. They got awakened at 1 o'clock in the morning, and they heard this bam, bam, bam. And the first guy that woke up thought it was a woodpecker. It sounded like 3 wood knocks. He said, "Oh God, that's loud. It's 1:30 in the morning." It's actually 1:39 exactly, because he had his phone. It told him what time it was. So then the other 2 guys hear this and they wake up, and then they hear from 4 or 5 different locations, bam, 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 off in the distance, but it's kind of a circular thing. They're kind of surrounded. They heard all these knocks and think, "Wow, woodpeckers, what, 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, what the heck?" So, and then they heard rustling in their campsite, and they heard tree snaps and some snorts and some grunts, and but all the knocks were in groups of 3, bam, 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 different locations. And the guy, when he was telling me the report, he said, "I felt like we were being counted." I said, "I think you were being counted." So when they wake up the next morning, they were freaked out because these creatures got slow and they were walking around their camp. They could tell they were in their camp, walking around, tromping around, walking around their tent. And they were all like huddled together, like, "Oh my God, what is it?" They kind of knew what it was, but they had never experienced it. They get up the next morning and they stayed up almost all night. They finally fell asleep for about an hour, but they got up about 5:30 or 6 in the morning. They went out and their campsite had been rummaged around. 3 rocks had been removed from their fire ring and piled in the middle of the fire. 5 sets of knocks, 3 knocks each, 3 guys in the tent. They were being counted, and the Sasquatch let them know that we know there's 3 of you. They took the rocks out of this rock ring and piled them up in the middle of the fire pit. Totally cool. I mean, they were being counted, and they were letting them know that we know you're here. And they were probably telling other Sasquatch in the forest that there was 3 humans here, even in the middle of a pouring rain. They just had to get away. I just thought that, and they took that out of the report. They published the entire report, but they took this paragraph out where this guy explained in great detail. And that's how they knew. And there was footprints. They were all kind of messy and muddy. They were trampling on each of the footprints. There were footprint on footprint. They could tell there was a lot of rummaging around. But they took that out of the report. I wonder why. Because it denotes some type of intelligence. Is it paranormal to be able to count how many humans? It's not that unusual. I think they can count, and I put that in my book many times. I know they count in direct proportion to how many people are there, whether it's 11, 3, 10, 5, whatever. On occasion, when it's necessary to transmit information to other Sasquatch in the forest, they will count to let you know how many humans are there, or how many humans are in the main group, how many have left the group. It's not rocket science. It's obvious. I've had it happen many times. They took that out of the report, and he was so upset. He called me and he said, "Well, that's not what I told you." I said, "Yeah, I know. I'm sorry." And he called it about the same time I got the report. I'm going, funny thing is, what I do is I make copies of all my reports before I send them in because I got wind of something. And then when they publish them, I make copies of that. I've got two versions of the same report, which is which. You know, why'd you take that out? I've already got evidence that it was the one I reported. You took those specific things out, and no response from BFRO. I said, what's going on? Nothing.
Yeah, I'd go ballistic.
Well, yeah, but that's where I'm at. So, and that's where I'm at right now with all of this we were talking about earlier. Is it?
Hey, you know what? I just wanted to mention, you just set me up with absolutely the perfect introduction to the first part of the campout story I'm going to talk about, because they did the same thing at this campout where they left two glyphs that depicted the people that were at the campout. It's just an amazing story. So yeah, they absolutely do that.
Yeah. And it's like, and it was a defining moment. I'm still in touch with the guy, and he's one of the people that I think is chosen because he goes to this campsite, and the one guy that was with him, he'll never go back. I'm never, ever going back out there. If those guys are out there, I want nothing to do with it. He was mortified. So that's one of the ones that believes they're up to no good, and I don't believe that, and I don't want nothing to do with it. But his other buddy has gone back with him almost every time, and they have some gifting done. There's some weird things going on. Some structures made and some things that they've left and have disappeared and reappeared in a different area, but in the same general area, but stuff moved around. So, but it's just, that is one of the clearest definitions of manipulation of data. It's just not right, and people reading the database, they read the report that had the good stuff taken out. Why?
Yeah, that's criminal. That's ridiculous. That's disrespecting the people's story too. That's totally. I mean, it's not even. It's just disrespectful.
Yeah. Well, they're pretty much insulted. I've had about 6 reports that I'm aware of. I haven't even gone back that far because I only found out about a year and a half ago. So I started, and I've always done it. As soon as I turn a report in, I always make a copy. I'm just anal. I'm a paperholic. I'm a real estate agent. So, contracts and forms, I just, if it exists in Word form, I'm going to print it because there it is. So I have it. So if I come up with something different the second time around, well, I've got something to compare it to. So you can't take that away from me. It's been altered.
I think there's a new book in the works. What would you call it? The reports that have been rejected by logical thinkers or something.
Yeah, the SASQUATCH Unclassified.
Yeah, SASQUATCH Unclassified.
SASQUATCH Deplorables.
Yeah, deplorables. That's more like it.
Listen, since you're running down to the end of your time with us, why don't you hold up your books again and tell us where to buy them, and
Well, this one here, let me get all 3.
SASQUATCH Enigma 2.
These 2 books are the same. This was my first book, SASQUATCH Evidence of an Enigma. When I signed the book deal, they decided to repackage it, and I added some more material. Now, this is black and white inside. The other one is color. So these are both technically the same book. This is the one you can get on Amazon now. SASQUATCH Down the Rabbit Hole of Strangeness. It's basically this book. This is color. This is black and white. This one you can get on Amazon. This is my second book, and I have that for sale through my house, and they're letting me get rid of my inventory before we end up maybe turning this into a second book, so they don't compete with one another and the confusion sets in. So if you want to get some of these from me, I have a few left. www.relichominid.com, RELICHOMINID.com.
Go
The other
buy
one's
it
just
today.
on
So you've got 3 books?
Huh? Yeah.
Can you give me 3 for the price of 2?
Well, sure. I'll give you 3 for the price of 4, and I owe you 1. Does that work?
Oh, that's a good deal. I like
It is. It is.
3.
But this one here is like $22 plus shipping, and this one here I think is it's $17 because this is 147 pages. This one here is like almost 200. So it's only because of the difference in printing and the color photos and everything. So, but those are the books, and I'm working on a fourth, which I've actually finished, and we just don't know how to market it and title it yet. We just started this conversation yesterday, as a matter of fact. So we're just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I really think you should come up with a fourth. Like I said, the reports that never made, whatever. Because
Yeah, no, I'm on
those
the verge of
people
having a
deserve to
conversation.
have their stories put out there and respected. And I think it would be just absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, and what I want to do is try to make it appealing to Matt, or BFRO, to do it in such a way that they don't
Yeah,
get
it's
soiled
definitely-
with a bad
Definitely
reputation.
educational, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you've got the approval and the encouragement of the world's two most or foremost ascended disasters, myself and Frank Oliver Beans. So, I mean, what better recommendation could you have?
I cannot
Every
think of any. can't think of-
every ascended master was first an ascended disaster. And so we're in the beginning phase.
Can I put
It
that
can
in
go
the
the other
book
way,
as a
too.
quote? I like that quote. It even rhymes. Master in disaster. I kind of like that.
Yeah, we're the masters of disaster. If you want to, just cut out all the frills and bells and whistles.
Yeah. Well, at the end of October, I'm going back to my area where I've had this gifting experience, which just totally blew my mind. And I'm trying to make it on the anniversary. So 3 years in a row, I will have been there in the middle to the end of October. And so I may get in touch with you about a few glyphs that I can maybe create to see if I get a response.
Absolutely.
I'll get with you on Messenger with that.
Have you actually run into any glyphs yourself?
No, I haven't, but I think they have a different way of communicating here. And there is a lot of leaf litter on the ground, so it could be that I've missed them, I'm having different kind of relationship with them here lately, more of a spiritual type of thing, or thoughts coming into my head, and communication that way. But I want to get a couple of ideas for a definitive glyph that continues the conversation in a maybe physical way, so that I have something that I can manipulate and look at. And
Get a Y glyph like this. Just get a stick, a Y stick, that like a branch with a stick that has a branch, and get a good size one, and then stick it in the ground, leaning up against the tree, so it sticks up like that. That's a good one.
okay.
Brian's got a couple of 2 or 3 of them, and I've got one in my front yard. And
2 or
what
3
I
of
think it
them?
is, huh?
2 or 3 of them. I've had hundreds of them.
Not leaning up against a tree. you
Oh,
have-
leaning up against a tree. Okay, right.
yeah, you got.
I
2 or
thought you meant
3
the
of
Y
them.
stick.
Yeah, the Y
Carter,
stick.
it's more of it doesn't really matter what you make. It's just that you agree, you come to an agreement telepathically or speak it, that this is what it means, and leave it, it really doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
They'll adapt.
Yeah, you put the meaning on it.
Yeah. Well, since they started with the rocks, I may do that. I may do the rocks, and there's going to be 4 of us, not 6. There'll be 4 of us this time. So I may come up with something of that nature, with some kind of interwoven sticks or branches, or just rocks, or something simple,
So you're talking about October?
Yeah.
Now, you see, when you describe to us, this is the way I hear it. When you describe to us, they said, I'm going to go in the late October because I've been there 3 years, and I'm going to have some kind of interaction. And the way I hear it is that was an agreement, or like a poke, or a little inspiration from the Sasquatch people as well as yourself. Yeah. So to me, and I see this whenever people are planning to either do shows or do research, or they're always planning this stuff up. I see Sasquatch hand is in it, is that they know what's going on, your heart, your intention, what it makes you excited, or what your plans are. They're part of it. They're all part of it. So that's, to me, most research is orchestrated and orchestrated by the Sasquatch people.
Yeah, and so, when I led the expedition there, that was my first trip to that area. When I went back, just coincidentally on the 1-year anniversary, just because it worked out that way, where I got the gifting of the rocks and other things that let me know that they were aware and they were signifying how many people they remember me from the year before. So this
Right.
whole time I've been thinking about, I'm going to go back in October. I'm going to make this an annual pilgrimage, if I want to call it that, and go back and have a relationship or attempt to see if they remember me 3 years in a row. I'm thinking they might. I've been thinking it. I've had it planned for a month. I've already got the campsite reserved. I know they know I'm coming with some fellow researchers, 2 of which were there. Me and another one were there this will be the 3rd year in a row. The other 2 have never been to this spot. But so, yeah, I'm kind of telegraphing my moves, and they probably already know what's going on.
But that goes
Absolutely.
2 ways. They can implant that desire to inside you. This whole desire. That's what I was trying to say is that this is incomprehensible that the Sasquatch phenomena is just a phenomenon. Because like I said, I've been chased out of a boat by sharks, and I don't research sharks. I've been almost eaten. I've been chased into the water from the banks into the water by an African crocodile. And I've had these are supposedly scary things, and they're bigger than life things. And yet I don't research any of them. You know what I'm saying? So there's something intrinsic about the Sasquatch people themselves that makes so many people want to research it. People don't necessarily research bears if they've been scared by a bear.
No, they eat you. Yeah.
Hey, I've got an interesting thought. Why don't you invite the world's handsomest man, Frank Oliver Beans, to your thing?
Oh, I do that.
That'd be a long drive out there, buddy.
Illinois. It's about 300-mile drive for me. About 5-hour drive from where I'm living.
Illinois. It would be about maybe 1,200 miles from me, from Georgia.
Where you at? Georgia?
Georgia.
Yeah.
Well, you could be
I'm
a
on
pilgrimage for you.
But
It's a
you'll
long
be
drive.
the first to hear about what's going on out there. I hope it's not anticlimactical. It could be that they're just not interested, or they're not there at the time. Who knows? Your interactions are not guaranteed. But I do believe they know I'm coming. We're
So
coming.
this is something you've done 3 years in a row,
This will be the 3rd year.
and you've had interaction and stuff happen every time.
Well, yeah, 2 years. Yeah. This will be kind of the defining moment, whether I've imagined things or serendipity of another kind. I mean, who knows, but I think this will be telling if, because I'm hearing things and getting, visions mentally that I shouldn't be seeing, but I am. So I think there's some kind of messages, coming across, which I'll have to get into another time. But I think there's something to all that,
You got
Absolutely.
3 minutes to get to your appointment.
Yeah, well, I'll be okay. I already pushed my phone. I said I'll be there in 15. So, I've got to take some people out, show them 2 houses real quick. So that's my.
Oh yeah, there's money. You're gonna make big money today.
Yeah, well, at least attempt. So I'd love to do this again. This was awesome. I mean, we'll have to start from about where we're finishing now and
Right.
continue on.
Well, we'll have to see if we can get you as our
I hope
most.
you figured out how to do a good survey, and I hope you make another book on the deplorable encounters.
Yeah. Well, I intend to at least have a conversation, so I'll know if that's possible or just gotta forget it.
Yep.
But, I can't just let it sit anymore. I gotta find out. I got a Fisher cut bait, whether it's a possibility or not. So I'll find out soon.
Well, if you're on the show more than 3 times, then you become like a show mascot. So is that, are you okay with that?
Yeah, do I have to wear funny clothes or anything?
It's on
You
occasion.
have to wear a
you
clown
do.
outfit.
Like the kilt? You seem to like that kilt picture.
Are you, are you regimental? Is that what they call it?
Regimental?
There's something when you don't wear anything underneath the kilt. There's some word for that.
Commando. That's what I call it.
Well, I mean, hey, I've done the show like nude from the waist down, so.
Well, I've got my boxer shorts on. That's why I'm not going to stand up for you. You know, my wife calls it a dangling participle. So, you know, we'll leave it at that. But, you know, the freedom is really quite fulfilling, you know.
Absolutely. The breeze, you know,
the breeze is
summer
wonderful.
wind came rolling in.
The breeze is
from
wonderful.
across the sea.
The Scottish
You know.
Liberation Front.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Carter, yeah, we definitely want to have you back because
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't even know what the heck we were going to talk about. And it just kind of,
We never do.
yeah, kind of just went from there. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. So we're going to
Yeah.
have, we're going to stick around and have the second half. We're going to bring on Beef Wellington, or Kevin Royce said he'd come on and join us, and I'll talk about the camp out experience a little bit.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah, and make sure you listen, because like I said, there was some stuff where they were counting the people that were in our group too. That's quite interesting.
Yeah. I've got all sorts of examples of that. I mean, you can't, you know,
Yeah.
you can't tell me they don't count. You know, they don't do it all the time, but if it's necessary to get the information out that there's so many humans in a certain area, I guarantee you they do, you know. So, you know, can't convince me. And the numerical, the serendipity and the numerology odds of that being the exact number of people and the exact number of knocks is just bizarre and not explicable any other way than they're counting and communicating, you know. So
Absolutely.
can't tell me otherwise.
Absolutely.
And thanks for making your bed though, Brian. It really looks good.
Well, it's better than I've ever made it.
Well,
And
yeah,
it's-
you've got the contrast there instead of the white and the white wall and the white shades. You know, you've got the nice blue thing there. I mean, it's a nice contrast.
well, like I said, you know, like since I've come back from the last camp out, I'm just a much gentler, kinder, spiritual, evolved soul.
Well, we all know that's a bunch of crap, but that's cool. I gotta go, but peace, gentlemen. Awesome insight. And thanks,
Absolutely.
Mike, for that stuff on Edgar Mitchell. I'm gonna look that up because I've been telling my wife about that and been chomping at the bit to find that out since the last time we talked. So that's on
Yeah.
my to-do list.
Yeah, they actually, I think there's a link. If you poke around, there's a link to I think the first 3 chapters or something of that book. It's for free as a PDF, as a download, and that's what covers a lot of the survey. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that'd be enough to get me going anyway. So
Well,
send me the link when you can. I love to be entertained. I love to watch the show, and you know, I tune myself out and just listen to you guys.
Well, I mean, why not? We are the premier world's greatest Sasquatch show in the entire universe.
we are the absolute bottom of the barrel.
The bottom of the
I can't
barrel.
believe it.
No, I mean the top of the top shelf.
Well,
Top
I'm
of
the
the heap.
bottom, so
King
I
of the
give
hill.
you- I
Didn't
give
Frank
you some
Sinatra sing that?
reality because I'm the bottom of the barrel. So you have I kind of balance all it out. Well, you don't want to get too cocky with all the great.
Yeah, we're trying to lift you up. You know, you're
I need it.
you know.
I need a lift. You know,
We're trying.
right
We're
here.
trying to aggrandize our bad self-image.
That's a good way of putting it. All right, guys, I'm done.
Adios, amigo.
I've enjoyed it immensely. We'll do it again.
You got that right.
All right.
Yeah.
If you're
Hey, guys.
going to San Francisco, be sure to wear some flowers in your hair. If you're going to San Francisco, you're gonna meet some gentle people there. For those who come to Francisco. Summertime will be loving there. If you come to San Francisco, summertime will be loving there.
I noticed you didn't put Mr. Carter's name on the
I did.
live feed.
Yes, I did.
You just put information.
I believe I put his name on there when I
Well,
did.
maybe you did. I'll see. We'll see later.
I mean, he's world famous. I mean, everybody knows him just by looking at him.
He's got 3 books. I don't have any books.
I've got
Can you-
one that I've been sitting on for like about 4 years.
So you got a
just got to
ghost book.
convince-
You got a ghost book.
Anyway, how about we do You Are So Beautiful to Me, and then we'll get into the second half of we haven't heard that yet today.
I am so beautiful to me, can't you see? I'm everything I ask for, I'm everything I need. I am so, look at him, he's laughing, stop breaking up. This is
No, he's
serious.
crying.
This is serious.
He's not laughing, he's crying.
That's the big finale note.
You gotta, no matter what you look like, you gotta feel like you're beautiful.
You are so beautiful to me.
I am
Can't-
so beautiful to me.
I mean, Kevin can see. Can't you see? Kevin, he's everything you ever hoped for. He's everything you'll ever need.
I think my wife might disagree with that.
Well, is she listening?
You know, she may watch it later, who knows? I doubt it, but she might.
Exactly. So you may as well be truthful.
So Brian had what did you have, like this camp out thing? That looks I sent a message to Coastal Chick and she said she had a really good time. Now,
Yeah.
when people say they have a really good time on the messages, I don't know what that means.
Well, she had an amazing time. She had a big time healing.
Whoa.
Her, yeah. And her husband has always been, what a great guy. His name's Jim. And he's been not skeptical, but he's never had any experiences. Well, he had a big time experience at the camp.
He went from the sideline to the main line.
He went from the sideline to right on board. So, yeah, let me share this picture with you because it kind of leads into what Carter was talking about as how they count people.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. Can give me some examples here? Help me understand what he was talking about.
Well, he said, I think he's saying that they did 3 knocks to signify 3 people that were in the group or whatever. I think that was basically it, wasn't it, Beans? And
Yeah.
then left 3 rocks, stuff
or
like
they'll
that.
leave 3 or 4 rocks somewhere just to let you know that they know that you know that they know.
So, but okay. How did he tie that to number of people? Because I get all sorts of numbers of knocks or all sorts of numbers of rocks or all sorts of numbers of sticks. And I never know what they actually mean, frankly. I mean, I like to guess, but the honest answer is I could be so wrong, it's not even funny. And I'm not saying he's wrong, okay? Just to be clear, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, but your area gets a lot of traffic, so you don't know that maybe around the bend there was, like, if you got 5 knocks, it could have been 5 people up there, and you never even see them because, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
It's not all about you.
Oh.
Well, can I give you gentlemen now I'm speaking right into my mic. I love this new mic. Can I give you a perfect example of that, Kevin? Can I illustrate the point?
You may, please do.
Okay, so let's do this.
The photo, please.
Can you see that?
Oh
I love, by the way, I love this.
that blew my mind.
Mine too.
Is that a
Okay,
little leaf?
well-
Or is that a little leaf roof at the top? Is that like
Yeah.
a roof?
So I'll tell you what's going on with this. One of the campers found this, and up here there's actually 4 pine cones, which represent the 4 Sasquatch I'm kind of connected with, or
Mhm.
not kind of. And we figured out after the fact, especially because of what showed up later, that these sticks, and there's one just below here too, 8 sticks are the exact number of campers that were there in the initial group. Okay. Actually, Sue came up with that, and I had so much in my mind that it was pretty obvious, but she came up with that. And so these are the clan members, and these are the 8 sticks representing the exact number of people who were at the first part of the gathering. And we had kind of like 2 groups because some of them left and then some other people came in late. So what happened after that is there was this lady called Christine, and on the very last day of the camp out, she decided, oh, geez, I wanted to go and take a picture of this thing because, you know, it's so darn neat. And so, you know, and she understands that now, and I understand it for what it was. It wasn't her thought. They guided her there, you know, like I've experienced that so many times. And so she went over there, and this next picture was not there until probably the night before or the day of when she, you know, the last day. And it's this, and it's right across on a tree from it, right? Can you see that?
That's like a big bundle of sticks. Is that like wire that's holding them together, or
Yeah, and it was wire that was
or
holding.
fishing? Or
It was
or
wire
they're
that was
fishing?
it was wire that was holding the initial one up. Now the initial one is just over in this direction, just like a couple feet. But the significance of this is that there's 11 sticks tied up in this bundle, and in total there were 11 people that came to the camp out. So they were literally counting the people. Now initially, when, like I said, when we first saw it, it was 8, and on the last day it was 11. So
Wow,
That's very cool.
yeah, so they were
that's very
counting.
cool.
Yeah, so they were counting the number of people who came, and
So you need
And
to
here's
add some
another-
captions. You need to add those captions to those pictures that you're hosting on Facebook there. Because when I saw them, I thought to myself, oh, those are really cool, without any sort of context as to the meaning. But if that is the meaning that you guys have gleaned from that, you should really make that comment.
well, I got my video coming out. It's pretty well done. I just got to do a little bit more, but yeah. And I talked about it in some length in there. And like I said, this Christine lady, I mean, everybody had an amazing time. She came up with that thought too, that she figured it out that, yeah, they're counting the people who attended the event. And which was really, really amazing, because then she started getting the idea of thought placement and how they guide us to stuff and find stuff and whatever. So that was significant for her. And right in the same area, like a couple feet away from these 2 trees, was this further confirmation,
Mm.
which is man, Sasquatch connected, and then it's signed by RA. So pretty darn cool. And the other thing is that when we were discussing it, you know, the possibilities, this always happens out there. It was, we were discussing the possibilities and what was going on, right on key, the raven started calling, right? You know, like you ask a question and it's a kind of a yes or no kind of thing, then the ravens or in some other way will give you an answer, an immediate answer that is a yes. So they did that too. So
Nice.
yeah, absolutely incredible. Yeah, that one's really neat. I actually have got them in my room. I didn't bring them. I very rarely ever bring this stuff back, but Sue said, go get it.
This was still on the tree, right? And then you had that other bundle, which was a bundle number 2.
Say that again, Beans?
this one was still on the tree when you showed the picture with the 11 sticks, right? And this one has 8.
Yeah.
So they're not the same one. They're 2 different bundles.
Absolutely. No, this
Okay.
was on the
Yeah.
tree the entire time. The last day we came back when Christine was led there, and then we found the one with 11, and they were both still there. But then Sue suggested that I take them. I normally don't take these things, but I got them actually hanging up in my room.
I think this is historic because you very seldom see Sasquatch with using strings or wire like this. You know,
I see them using string all the time, and you know, the more I see it, the more, you know, it's always like, you know, like string, blah blah blah. But no, there's no question about it. And that's just another further proof that they do, because the second one that showed up, there was nobody, you know, it showed up from the evening to the morning of when we left. So it's just impossible it was a person.
Well,
But I also like the fact that, you know,
each
there's
stick
there's
is
4
wrapped
pine
around
cones in here.
twice, and
What's
it's
that?
wrapped around twice around the tree. It's so amazing.
Yep. Yep. And if you notice, the 2 different types of wire here, right? And this one is a totally different kind of wire too.
Yeah.
So there's 3 different types of wire here.
So we're not talking wire, we're talking thread, right? We're not talking, is that actually metallic wire?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
So it'd be like fishing lure wire. You know how they have
Mm,
No.
well, it's like it's metal or whatever. I don't know what you mean by fishing lure. I'm not much of a fisherman.
well, you have this nylon, you know, clear fishing.
No. This is the kind of
string.
stuff that you can bend.
But
bend
then
it,
when
and
you want to catch a big fish, you have a little piece of wire that you hook up to it so that it's stronger at the very end where the hook is. And they sell them in little spools, and you keep them in your fishing boxes. I was just wondering if that might have been it.
well, it's not the fishing wire kind of thing. It's metal, and you know, if you bend it, it stays in that shape or whatever. So I don't know if that explains it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's amazing, and
And it's shiny. It doesn't have any rust on it, so that's interesting too.
well, I mean, there's a few facts here. I mean, one thing, it was put there from the evening before to the next morning. You know, we got a private campground, 3 different types of wire. Well, I mean, it's obvious it wasn't people. There's just no question about it, and it's
Agreed.
obvious it signified that they were letting us know that they were counting how many people were there, and maybe more than counting, they were honoring them and recognizing them, you know, by signifying each person, each individual with their own stick. I see it as that too. So
It would have been interesting, you know, how sometimes when the Sasquatch leaves stuff like this, the length of the stick and the girth of the stick is significant. If you had unbundled this and stack ranked them in size and girth, whether you could have picked which one was assigned to which person.
could be. Sue actually wanted me to try to unravel this to see if it was like in the ladder form, like this one, but
Right.
I don't know if I want to do that or not. I might at some point.
That ladder is remarkable. I mean, the more I look at that, if you look at the left-hand side as you look at it in the picture, that left-hand side looks like it's been put together with lichen and moss. I don't know if there's a string in there or a wire, but that is absolutely remarkable.
Yeah, I just love it. And like I said, there's 4 pine cones here, and you know, like RE, Fortuna, Raj, and Little Bud. You know, that number coincides too. The 4 Sasquatch that I connect with, honoring the 8 people that were there at that time, and you know, and then there's these little touches that they always do, like this little piece of moss here, and yeah, just remarkable. Yeah, absolutely remarkable.
There's a lot of love there. I could just got a little love zap from then this, I just was feeling them, they had to sit down, sit on the ground, make this whole thing, and they were meditating on you guys the whole time. So what a thoughtful, loving little gift.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I saw them walking by in the area where they made this in a transparent kind of form. I've seen them twice this last week. They were kind of like in their transparent kind of form, and I just caught a glimpse of them walking by. They do a lot of stuff right in this area, and actually, some people heard them walking too. They could hear them walking in the gravel and stuff. Quite remarkable. Yeah.
Was it this in your regular everyday stomping grounds, or was
Yeah.
or did you go to a different camp?
No, this is right in the heart of where I go to.
Okay, so this is like going home.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's a few things here. If anybody, like I'm pretty pragmatic and practical, whatever. When I see stuff like this, I always give it the possibility that maybe a person made it or whatever, but I was almost positive they didn't for a number of reasons. But all that skepticism, and I wouldn't say it like that, but all that chance that it could be human made is pretty much eliminated when you see this. And it was made overnight or that morning of the last day. That defies logic. And then of course the confirmation here, RE's signature.
That one looks like it's going to stay on the tree for a long time. I mean, it could easily stay on the tree for a year unless somebody took it down.
Which one are you talking about? The second one? Or
yes, the one that's really looked like it's bound up good.
Well, it's not going to stay on the tree for a long time because I took them both home.
Why did you do that?
Because Sue told me to. She said, go out and get them. So I said, okay. Because she figured it was a gift. She figured it was a gift, which it is. So that's what I did.
That's the feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it would be cool if it was like a marker so that next year you could see it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, so let me see if I can. You guys want to say hello to each other for a second? I'll bring up another couple pictures or one picture. There's a really neat story about how they there's Coastal Chicks Healing, which I'll talk about, but her husband, like I said, he's a sweetest guy you could ever meet. Just such a kind guy. And but he hadn't really had any experiences. So he didn't say he was a skeptic, but he wasn't totally on board. You have to kind of experience it yourself. Anyway, let me just bring that picture up. So can you guys say something, entertain the pork and beans crowd while I bring this up? Why is it every time I say that, there's like dead silence?
You didn't even give us a chance to say anything. You hesitated for literally half a second.
I know, but that's because every time I do it, Beans just like stares like a ghost and like a deer in the headlights.
I love to see you squirm. You squirm.
I'm a good squirmer.
So Michael,
Hey,
what were
Kevin.
you doing while Brian was having his camp out? You just hanging out?
Yeah, I was just hanging out. I got a dead squirrel gifted to me at the beginning of the driveway. So that just lets me know that they're thinking about me. And that's so far in the last 3 or 4 years, that's a second dead squirrel that I've gotten. I had 2 dead squirrels and 1 dead mole. So
Yeah, I just have that one dead mole in the last couple of years.
but to me
For
that's
some reason-
significant because I am in town, so it's not like they're going to come by every 5 minutes.
So I'm not even quite sure how to say this. My clan is back for sure. I know they're back for sure. And they're actually in the woods next to me. And actually somebody bought the property next to me where the woods are, where these guys hang out. I'm really disappointed because they're going to build. They're going to take the trees down, they're going to wreck it. I'm very distraught over that. But my guys have been around, but they have really seriously, and they let me know, right? But they've been so standoffish. And I don't know whether it's because I haven't had time to go down to their area and I wasn't healthy before. I mean, for like 6 weeks before I went to Hawaii, or what? I mean, is this just an
They're
assimilation?
jealous that you went to Hawaii.
Yeah, something tells me they can go wherever they want. So I don't think so. If they want to go
Well,
someplace tropical, I bet you money they can just create their own little portal and go zip, and they're gone.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on with them. They're like part of nature. So, they're seasonal and weather changes and everything. So I don't, I in a way, I don't invite myself to figure them out too much.
Oh yeah, because you're going to be wrong. I mean, I used to be so certain of so many things. Now I've come to the conclusion. I start everything off with humans are easily deceived because we don't have very good perception. We don't. I mean, we miss way too much. And the perception or the way we do perceive can be manipulated so easily. So everything I observe, I have to say that any conclusion I draw from that has a really high likelihood of being wrong. So yeah, I've got to make some rules for what's true for me so that I can operate my life, right? But beyond that, it's really basically they've shown me it's really kind of a free for all. You don't know. You can't know.
And the other thing that I've been feeling is to not, and actually from the beginning, I kind of got tuned into this, is to not put my expectations on them. I don't beg them to see them. I don't beg them to visit me. I don't beg them to give me attention or give me a cookie. I
want the cookie.
Yeah, I want a cookie.
Okay.
And that just puts me in. I have to do two things. I have to know that they are there and that they care and they're good people.
Right.
And what was the other one? And not expect anything from them. And to me, the way I honor them is to not expect anything or not demand anything. Anything they give to me is a gift, right? And it's like, and other people have a completely different approach because there are people who want mind speak and there's people who want to know their name and all. And they accommodate those people really well too. But
sometimes they make you wait. Sometimes they really make you wait.
Yeah, sometimes years. But I mean, I'm saying, all the people who are doing the real mind speak thing, some people mind speak to them every day, so they have a different relationship.
Maybe they backed off a little bit, Kev, because they knew you were not feeling well and they didn't want to, make you exert yourself or something. You needed rest.
I don't know. I'm back. As far as I know, I'm back to 100%. So,
are you still feeling like great after your trip?
I have to say that I'm feeling a little bit run down with the change in weather, and it's dark in the morning, and I don't get to go outside in my shorts and just, go boogie boarding at 7 a.m. anymore. It's a big change.
Did you want to see this other picture that leads into the story of Jim?
Yes.
Oh, he got his eyes opened. Okay, I'll bring that up.
We did pretty good talking. I like that. It was
with what? With Carter or just us? Oh, you guys. Yeah, you guys actually did better than you usually do.
So that's the wrong kind of dirt for right there. That was
okay. Now, this is the story. Okay, so this is in the exact same area within just like 10 yards of where the stick things I just showed you were left. So anyway, Jim or maybe it was another person, but he was right in the beginning. There were these 3 mounds of dirt that were just dumped here and whatever, and couldn't figure out what was going on. Now a couple of them, Jim got really interested in them. So a couple of them, he, like dug into them a little or pushed them aside or whatever to see if it was a mole or something, but no mole hole or anything, and just could not explain it. And like you said, Kev, the dirt, it does not look like it's from that area at all.
Well, and you know how you can tell it's not a mole? You see the bigger, so having had lots of moles now, I know what their dirt looks like. And that dirt is way too chunky. It's too coarse. When the moles dig it out, they turn it into kind of a fine powder. So there's no chunks. So you'll see rocks, and the rocks are actually fairly clean. And then you'll see a very fine powdery dirt, even if it's wet. This is chunky.
Yeah. Well, anyway, he
Is
was
that
still
is that about
investigating
the
it.
size of a grapefruit? Because I'm looking at that the little fern there, the old dead fern. So that means this thing is not much bigger than your fist, or maybe a grapefruit or something. It's not really a
No,
giant.
it's bigger than that. It's about
If you're talking
maybe
about
the size of a football without the oval kind of shape. It's like,
so Michael, that thing you're looking at that's kind of brown, that's pointing straight down towards the bottom, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's not moss or
That's a cedar.
moss.
That's a cedar bow. That's from a cedar tree.
Okay, so that's not moss. Mosses be smaller.
it might be about the circumference of maybe a basketball or something. It's a fairly substantial amount of dirt. And like I said, there were three of them placed really in close proximity to one another. And so Jim was looking at them and seeing, is this a mole? Or he couldn't explain how they got there at all. So, it's worth noting that he was very, very interested in them, and he was, investigating them and whatever. So I think it was on the second to last day before he left, him and his wife, Carrie, that's actually Coastal Chick's real name, is Carrie. So we were calling them Jim Carrey. They decided to go for a little picnic down by the lake, a little romantic picnic, because, they've been married, I think 17 years, and they've never, ever had a vacation of any kind. They got a lot of responsibilities. I think they got like 100 animals that they take care of, and gardens and stuff. And so they decided to get away for a few hours and just, enjoy the lake and a picnic and whatever. So they're walking down to the lake, and Jim notices a great big X placed on the stump. And he was thinking, okay, that's really, really interesting. And so he walks a little further along, and what does he see? The identical type of mound just laid out right before him on the, I guess it was a path or whatever, like another one. And then he was really starting to get interested. And then as they're walking along, there was a little path that veered off to the right, and he just got the idea, which I know he just didn't get the idea. He was being guided at that point. Decided to veer off to the right and take this path. And about 4 feet in, as he got onto this path, there was another mound. And so, at that point, he knew, okay, there's something supernatural going on. There's something amazing. And he was like brought right into the, excuse me. He was just like, he accepted it at that point. He said, wow, this is all real. There is something going on. So really opened his eyes. And actually I have an interview with him on my video that kind of goes into more detail about it. But I thought that was really, really beautiful. So, they opened his eyes to a lot of possibilities with that. And he said it was the same dirt too, and this is on a beach, like a kind of a beachy area, or, the waterfront of a big lake. So
you're saying if it was humans, would they be able to carry that pile of dirt in 2 hands like this?
well, it doesn't, yeah, but that's not even the point. The point is that there were 3 mounds of dirt that there was no explanation for. And plus, like I
Well,
said,
what
this
I'm
is a
saying is
private campground.
in order to get those mounds where they are, could a human being carry that much dirt in their hands? Because this right here, the amount of dirt you can carry in your hands like this is not the size of a football. It's only the size of a grapefruit at most.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think theoretically somebody could have carried it in a bucket and just dumped it over, but you know, I mean, that's not what was
Okay.
going on. That was definitely not what was going on. 100%. And I mean, you know, this guy's a guy who's not skeptical, but he's very, very practical, and he knew what was going on. He had no question about it. So they gave him that understanding and opened his eyes. And yeah, it was really, I was really grateful to see that, because every time somebody comes up here and they do something like that for somebody and get them walking on a new journey or whatever, it's amazing. So I'll go on to a few other. Well, I found this just the other day. What do you think of that? Nice, eh?
That's a beautiful.
Yeah. Absolutely beautiful. Classic rock ring, ferns around it. Kevin, you've got your microphone off. Somebody talking to you?
Yeah, my daughter just got home and my dog was barking.
Ah. Oh, this was left for me right by my car. Right by my car, and it was not there when I first drove in. It was left like minutes or maybe within a half hour after I got there. And I find it very significant, for one thing, because, you know, there's 4 different kinds of things going on here, and very, very hard to believe that they just got there naturally. And they're kind of like things that are kind of important to me in my journey and connect with me. And, you know, like the peel stick, the bark that the Sasquatch use a lot of on their structures and stuff. Here's a rock face
With a
which I
face
get
on
a
it.
lot of. Yeah, it looks like a Sasquatch to me. I see the 2 eyes, nose, mouth,
Right.
and a conch, which I used to get and send to a lady who would do art work on them. And so I found that kind of neat. Oh, and this once again was not here. And then one of the ladies arrived and she said, "Oh, I found this right by my car," and 100% not there like earlier in the day. So pretty cool. So before I get into some of the other stuff, how you been doing there, Kev? We'll wait for Mr. Frank Oliver Beans to get back.
I have just been really busy trying to beat the weather change to get my front lawn in, and didn't quite make it. Close. I'm really close. And I've got to finish so we started before my heart. So this is really sad. Before I had my heart attack, we'd already started repainting the inside of the house. And our house isn't huge. It's only about 3,000 square feet and 5 bedrooms. And I had a heart attack in the middle of it. So all work stopped for really a year. I didn't do any painting. And so we have had a partially painted inside of the house for a year. And my wife, of course, is less than thrilled with that whole thing. So my focus has been for the last, then I got sick this summer, right, for 6 weeks, and I really didn't do a whole lot then either. I tried, but I was just knocked on my butt. So now I get back from Hawaii, and my youngest daughter, we kicked her out of her room. She's kind of living in the office, and I stripped her room, got it all ready to paint, and then changed focus over to the front lawn. So now what I'm doing is I'm juggling between the front lawn and her room. So today is painting the first coat of paint up over the bare drywall that we have up. And we'll go from there. And I think, I don't know, maybe my Sasquatch clan is leaving me alone because they know I've got to get stuff done, or because, I would drop it in a heartbeat for them. It's like, oh, they want me to go to the woods. I got to go.
And Margaret will be on board with that.
No.
Priorities, I say.
That's it's my priority. All right. They are really number one. If they want to have interaction, or if they want to have relationship, I'm there. If they don't, well, then I do other stuff.
Right.
But
Well,
health wise, I'm still feeling really healthy, so I'm good. I'm happy. Too lazy to shave, but
can you pull your t-shirt down a little bit? I want to.
oh, it's down here.
Oh, you've actually got the chain made now?
Yeah, I just used a piece of twine. I don't have any hemp.
Let's have a look at it.
No.
Why, are you lying, or?
I would never.
Well, then let's have a look at it.
No, we're not going to have a look at it. Why do you
Okay.
make a big deal out of my necklace?
Because we came to when I sent it to you, I said
Yes,
was one thing that you have to abide by, is that you have to always wear it. And you said, yes, I will always wear it. And every time I see you, I never see it. So
that's not true. If you look at our last video, it was on me. And it was short. It was the choker.
okay. So you've just got a piece of twine, now it's hanging down like mine, kind of?
Actually, I have to shorten the twine up. It's too long. It's down like here.
Can we have a look?
No, because I have to lift things up and I don't feel like doing it.
You're being very evasive.
No, I'm not being evasive.
So how's the interaction with your clan going now? Have they picked it up, or is it still pretty slow, or what's going on?
Well, what's interesting is, so I'm analyzing it because I don't really understand fully what's going on with that relationship at the moment. But so what'll happen is I'll be watching something on YouTube or on Facebook, and as it pertains to Sasquatch and some of the evidences that they leave, and there's a particular guy called his real name's Mark Abel, but he is Colorado Bigfoot, and he also has a different Facebook group, but on YouTube he's Colorado Bigfoot. And the Sasquatch have really shown him a lot of their structures. I mean, we're talking some really intricate stuff out in the middle of nowhere at 10,000 feet. We're not talking about just off the road. We're talking about 5 miles in, 10 miles in, with no trail.
Yeah.
So there have been times when I've been watching some of his stuff, and I'm in awe of what they've shown him, what they've built. And at those times, I actually get kind of a love. It's a really mild one. It's a really mild love thing. And then they're gone.
You mean like a man love, or for the structures?
Okay, I'm speechless, and that's rare. No, it's they show me their love, you silly.
Ah, okay. Well, I just want to clarify in case anybody got the wrong idea, right?
Right. And but beyond that, I think they're around because my dog goes nuts about certain things when nothing's there, when I know for a fact something's there. And then but the amount of energy interaction they have with me is almost nothing. But again, I haven't been in the woods except for once in the last almost 3 months.
Oh my God.
It's killing me, but that's where it's at. And so I guess from their standpoint, maybe they feel like I've abandoned them, and the reality is I haven't. I just haven't had time since I've been back from Hawaii, trying to juggle too much. I'll get back to it.
How far is it? It's just like in your backyard, basically, isn't it?
Well, that's just it. If they really want to interact with me, there's woods on either side of me. And shoot, they've come, you've heard my stories. They come up to my house on occasion.
Yeah.
They've actually whacked my house. And if they want my attention. I think right now, mostly the physical interactions that I'm having are mostly the young ones, right? I don't get the sense that it's, no, I'm getting something. Anyway, I think it's the young ones who are physically present. And I think whatever energy interactions I get right now are still the adults, but like I said earlier, it's really very standoffish. Like, I don't know if they're waiting for me to do something or to figure something out, or whether I did something and they just said, we're just not gonna deal with this guy too terribly much anymore. Well, we like him, but he's limited use. Right.
I doubt that.
I doubt that too, but that's a possibility. Always is a possibility. How about
So
you?
you're-
Yeah, you guys have been out there having all sorts of interactions. I mean, obviously you got pictures of some great stuff.
Absolutely. I'll tell you a little bit more when Beans comes back. But I mean, you're saying that the kids are interacting with you now. How do you
think
know
they always
that, and what's
have.
going on? What's going on with that?
Okay, so I don't think it's the adults that killed the mole. I don't. I think it's the kids. And I don't. When I say kids, I actually include anything up from 5 or 6 years old up to adolescent. And they've actually always interacted at my house, and they're jokesters. They're huge jokesters.
Mhm.
And I think I told this story once a long time ago, but before I realized there were Sasquatch, that I lived in the middle of a Sasquatch territory, my wife and I were asleep one night in our bed, and it's 2 a.m. and I heard footsteps running on my deck. They weren't big footsteps, they were little footsteps, like a kid was running from one end of my deck to the other, right behind my head, which, the other side of the wall from my headboard.
Mhm.
And I went running outside. I grabbed my weapon of choice and I ran outside, threw all the lights on, and I never left the deck. And I know, and I'm looking, I'm just in my underwear even. It's middle of the night. What do I care? And I'm looking around like, who's out there? I know for a fact that they were in the woods. They were in the bushes, not very far away, just laughing their ass off.
Yep.
So yeah, I really think that it's the kids, because they've always been around.
Can we revisit something? Because and then I'll get back into a little bit of the camp out stuff. You said that they were trying to get your attention for years, right? The Sasquatch.
Yeah.
So what? I'm sure you've told me this before, but I don't remember. What was the defining moment when, okay, I get it?
All the apples on my apple tree from 6 feet up were gone. Everything else not touched. You couldn't get to it without a ladder. And it happened overnight. And I know nobody drug a ladder up my driveway in the middle of the night without my dogs barking to pick literally scabby apples off of my tree. I had a lot of evidence that had accumulated to this point, but it was at that right then was when it just really, the reality of it hit me. Like, wow, there's nothing else that is that tall that's going to pick my apples silently.
Yeah.
And I started laughing because my wife is the one who came in all upset that someone had stolen our apples. And like I told you, they are scabby. All they're good for is applesauce, and they make fantastic. These are like heritage apples. They make fantastic applesauce. There's a way that I could keep the scab from coming on, but it requires me to spray them with terramycin, which is an antibiotic. And I think that they would eventually become resistant to that. And I don't want that on my food.
Yeah.
But when she said that when she came in all upset and I started laughing, she says, "What are you laughing at? All our apples are gone and someone stole them." And I said, and I told her, I said, there's only one. I first off told her, I highly doubt someone drug a ladder up our driveway without the dogs barking, set it up on our apple tree, and only picked the top 6 feet up. There's no way. I said, there's only one being that's going to do that. One, and it's a Sasquatch. And at that time, I didn't know what their supernatural capabilities were, right? I wasn't really aware of the woo at all. And so I was thinking very much so in a physical caveman, Neanderthal kind of sense. I wasn't thinking in terms of a being that is more advanced in many ways than we are, right? I was,
Yeah.
That was where I was at. That's where it finally clicked.
And you told Margaret that you
I did. I said, I think it's Sasquatch. And
she's been totally on board ever since.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No.
Well, the thing is, go ahead.
She prefers to think I'm insane than to actually consider that Sasquatch is a thing. I mean, she does. She just totally prefers that.
Well, yeah, common sense. I mean, if you're going to go out there and pick cherries or apples or something, every human being that I know in the world is going to pick the easy ones first, the low ones, right?
Yep.
I mean, you're not going to go out of your way to pick all the ones on top. But that's not human behavior. It's not practical.
And the same with deer, right? If deer come and eat your apples, because I've had that happen.
Yeah.
They'll pick the low ones. They can't get to the upper ones. This was to me, it was a clear message from my clan.
Mm-hmm.
We are here. You can't deny it. All the gifts we've given you, the stick glyphs that were behind your truck, the stuff in your truck, dead animals, all this stuff, it's irrefutable. You cannot deny our presence. You cannot deny our existence. We are here.
So you had all that stuff going on and you were still doubting until the apple?
So you have to know that. Okay, so I was actually struggling with some mental health issues anyway, right? And I wasn't actually all that sure I wasn't going nuts. I was seeing things out of the corner of my eye all the time. And I thought they were just hallucinations, honestly. And because my brain was doing some really weird stuff, like really weird. Thankfully, that stuff has really calmed down. Actually, really calmed down. And I don't have that.
Calmed down?
Yeah, I mean, they've calmed down. So what I get now is profound fatigue, where my brain stops working to the point where I'll start slurring my speech like I'm drunk, and I'm not. And I no longer am able to process complex thoughts, and I can no longer find words. And it will become really obvious because I can't get a thought out to save my life. But that's actually, I don't get lost anymore on the way to the post office. But then again, I've organized my life in such a way that my stress level is almost nothing. I almost never leave the house except to go on my hike. And even then, as I noted now, it's been like 3 months and once.
So what was the next? So once you came to, like the Apple thing.
I think that's a great story, by the way.
The Apple thing totally told you. Yeah, it is. Told you, okay, I'm all in now. So that's a significant moment for you and them. Do you remember what they did next? Did they do something spectacular next or whatever?
No, actually, because what happened, I became a lot more proactive about looking for them. I had already gone and I told this before too. At that time, I was looking for answers because I had my suspicions, right? It's like, could this be Sasquatch? And so I looked online and came across 3 different people who kind of helped me make sense of this. And this was before I met you, Brian. I was watching a guy, Mark Abel, Colorado Bigfoot. I was watching Snow White Bigfoot because she had just started having some experiences. And Christopher Noel, watched him. Impossible Visits, I believe is what
We got to get that guy on the show.
And all 3 of them were working together on something called Project Go and See, I think is what it was called. And basically it was get off your butt and go look to see if you see these structures or see if you see evidences of Sasquatch in your area. And they all posited that it was a high probability you were going to find something very close to your home. And within 100 yards of my front door, and I'd say less than that, but I'm going to be conservative, on the property kitty corner to mine, which is a little 5-acre plot, it's all wooded, they had a vertical X set up, but it looked really old. And then beneath an enormous old growth stump that's probably 20 feet tall, but it's easily 15 to 20 feet in diameter. No, not in diameter, in circumference. It's probably about 6 feet in diameter, 6 feet across or more. And in front of that was like, it was a crisscross of logs that had rotted, but they were in a pattern that defined cells, where based on my understanding at the time, I believed that those were places that the Sasquatch would hang out. There was individual places for each Sasquatch. And I thought, and it looked abandoned because all the logs were rotten and just crumbling into the ground. And it looked like they had been there, 60, 70, 80 years ago, but they weren't there anymore. And so I was a little disappointed. And I came to the conclusion in my brain at that point that they weren't there, right? But that they had been. And that kind of wowed me. And this was before the Apple incident. This was long before. Well, actually not long before. This was probably less than 6 months. So after the Apple incident, and I really was on board, I became a lot more proactive about finding where they were actively hanging out, not realizing that they actively hung out in the property literally right next door to me. I hadn't found what I considered to be evidence until later, when I learned more about what my clan does in terms of remodeling the woods. So I went on this hike to this lake. That was that's actually, the one-way distance is about 1.5 miles, a little bit more. So it's 1.5 miles from my house as the crow flies. And that's when I started to become aware of different portions of woods had different energy. I mean, and significantly different energy. And I know they made me sensitive to that. It wasn't something I came up with on my own. And there's a certain portion of the woods where they started to interact with me more than other portions. And it was the deepest, darkest parts of the cedar forest, not where the fir trees were. And it was lowland, and it was lots of ferns, lots of, very primeval looking. And that's where they actually, the first time they interacted with me on that trail was in that section of woods, and right like 10 feet off the trail, an enormous branch broke. They didn't allow me to see them at that time. And I got excited. I didn't get scared. I got excited because it was not a, we're scaring you. It was a, hey, we're here. That's essentially, and those words didn't show up in my mind. There was no mind speak at that point. And like I said, I just got really excited. And so I finished my hike, and I started coming back out, hoping that they would interact with me again along the way. And they didn't, and I was disappointed. And it was a couple more days, and I did that hike several more times, just because, you know, I was so excited and I wanted to have that interaction. It was also in that area where I was hiking back out from the lake towards my house, and this was probably within that same period of time where they broke the branch, within 2 weeks max. And I'm walking back out, and I hear footsteps in the woods beside me, shadowing me. They're probably about 10 feet behind, 20 feet. I can't see through the brush more than about 10 feet. So, and they weren't showing themselves. And in my mind, I thought to myself, oh, this is, I've heard about stories like this. This is really awesome. Well, then all of a sudden those footsteps picked up speed, and they went from stealthily walking to running full tilt towards me. And then there was a pause, and I'm picturing in my mind, by the way, okay, it just jumped, and it landed in a bunch of branches that were like, and I'm saying 10 feet, and I think I'm being conservative. All of a sudden, it was like the 4th of July. Branches were breaking and popping, and there was no roar, there was nothing like that. But I had an adrenaline rush like I have never had an adrenaline rush before in my life. I was scared, and I immediately went through the process of, this is a Sasquatch. I can't run from this. I'm at the time, I think I was 50. I'm 50 years old. I can't outrun a Sasquatch. There's no way. And so I stood there, and I turned and faced it, and I put my palms out, and I said, brother, all I want is to have a relationship with you. And of course, you know, my heart's doing that. Oh my God. And with that, before I got scared, before I ran or did something weird out of terror, I turned and I walked as purposefully and slowly as I could continued back up my trail. And I started kicking myself, because I thought, you know, if I'd hung out there, I may have had my first sighting. That may have been the first time they showed me themselves. Well, as it turns out, they knew my fear levels way more than I knew my fear levels and what needed to be worked on. So I completed my hike. I got to the top of the trail, and I turned around and I went back down in, hoping that they would interact with me again. Silence. There was absolutely nothing. So I come back out, go home. I literally did not go back in the woods for 2 weeks because I was battling my own inner fear. And I had to come to the conclusion of, you know, if they wanted to hurt me, they could. I'm not armed. I'm fully in their environment. They're superior in every way in here. And this is before I realized how woo they were. So I'm coming back. No. So anyway, I worked through my fear issues and realized how stupid that was, because I wasn't hurt. It was probably a joke, just trying to see what I was made of. And I've passed with flying colors because I didn't run, I didn't wet myself, so that was a good thing. And I expressed what the desire of my heart was right then. And literally, I think that made our relationship, because from what I understand, that was an adolescent, and he was supposed to scare me, but he went a lot further than he was supposed to go, and that I handled it a lot better than they expected me to. So that was that. And that's where everything started to really pick up. And that's what led to me seeing them as humans and other creatures. And it's been a ride.
Passing a fear barrier. Common story. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and they've worked with, and so the picture that you see, I don't know if you can see him yet, but that guy right there,
yeah,
afforded me an opportunity to deal with another really deep-seated fear and some deep-seated superiority complex that I didn't realize I still had. On the day that I took this video where this guy appeared, they literally set something up for me to find. And it was like a treasure hunt where they'd left some tree blazes, which kind of freaked me out because the only thing I know of that leave tree blazes are cougar and bear. And so I'm thinking to myself, oh, good Lord, now I have a cougar in my area or a bear, and I need to be,
What's a
concerned.
tree blaze?
It's where an animal takes its paw print or claws and marks the tree. And it's called a tree blaze. And the only two animals I know that do that, deer do it with their antlers, but it looks way different because it's just to sharpen and to get rid of the velvet. The only two animals I know that make an actual blaze like that's blatantly saying this is my territory are cougar and bear. And I know that I've got black bear, and I know that they're a cougar in the woods, at least around. And I've since seen a bear in the woods where I know they hang out, where my clan hangs out. But so this day I was really excited because, well, actually I was scared at first. And then I started seeing that there was a pattern to these tree blazes, because a bear doesn't care how deeply it gouges into the wood, right? It'll go all the way through the bark and tear all the bark off down to bare tree. Well, none of these were like that. These were all very surface in the very soft part of the cedar bark. And it occurred to me that they're all low too, right? They're all my height. They're not 16 feet in the air. They're not 2 feet from there. They're like right where my field of view is going to find them. So I follow them and I discover, well, really two things. I discover some symbols that have been carved into a tree fairly freshly. It's a fairly rotten tree at the very bottom, and they carved some symbols in there. I don't know what they mean. I took pictures. And then as I'm walking back out towards the main trail, because I'm way off trail at this point, as I'm walking back to the main trail, I discover there's a stick leaned up against a fir tree. And I'm looking, of course, at the trees. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, there's a blaze. I wonder if that fir tree's got a blaze. And so I was already primed to look to see if it's been damaged or anything. So I walk up to that tree, and there's a stick leaning up, and it's pointing at a little fish bobber that had been placed in the bark. And I had passed by this on the way in, by the way, and I did not see anything. So they did all this while I was off trail, not more than probably 50 feet away. Yeah, maybe 50 feet if I'm lucky. So I turn around, I pick it up, and I say, thank you very much. This is awesome. And I put it back because I realized, actually, I want to get a video of this. And so I walked back to where the blazes started, where I discovered it. And I took a picture of the surrounding area. And that's what this is behind me. And where that guy's standing, I had my son-in-law go over there with a 6-foot stick and a red flag tied to the end of it. And he held it up as high as he could. And it came below this guy's chin. And so my son-in-law is about 5'9", maybe 5'10". And so add another 6 feet to that. And that's the bottom of this guy's chin. So either this guy's like 14 feet tall or 12 feet tall or 13 feet tall, or he's levitating. I don't know which. But anyway, so this is where I take the video, and I just pan across. I wasn't trying to get a picture of a Sasquatch. I just wanted to capture, this is the environment. This is what I see. And then I go on to document the blazes. And it was only after I got home and I was showing my son-in-law the video of the blazes, because that was the most significant event to me, I discovered that there was a Sasquatch in there. And you know what? I got excited. Wasn't scared. This guy was across the creek from me on the other side of some really tall brush. And I never knew he was there. My dog never knew he was there. Well, then I decided to take a really close look at this video and blow up just that section and take out every frame that he appears in. And it's like he morphs. He goes from what you see in this picture to hiding his face almost completely to all of a sudden showing his face, and then his face turns kind of a different color, and then he swirls out of existence. And that was a woo thing. That was irrefutable proof to me of woo. And that didn't scare me though. That was kind of a cool thing. But what actually caused me pause, I'll just say pause, was this little creature, which started out as kind of an amorphous energy blob, coalesced into a little creature that if I assume his foot's or his head's about 1.5 feet tall, this creature is about 18 inches tall, and it morphs into a little creature with a hat on, and it winks at you in between frames. I don't know why, but I had come to peace within myself that I live among Sasquatch. I had not come to peace within myself that I have little creatures, little beings. And that's a weird thing, right? That to me, that was a weird thing. And then I started to think, hold it. I feel kind of like a rat in a maze. They set this up, this whole elaborate setup, so that I would find both the symbols that they wrote and the fish bobber. Who's observing who here? Whom? And that put me in a completely different perspective of I was the rat, and they were the ones testing me. They were the ones seeing if I would respond to their stimuli. And I thought to myself, that's really freaky. And I had to go back, and I really had to work through some fear and some remaining residual little ideas that they're not people, and that why do I call them a Sasquatch male and a Sasquatch female when really they're men and women just like us, just different. And I still haven't come to any conclusions, or actually don't even have any feelings, positive or negative, about the little people. I don't know. That's the time I've ever seen one, and the only time I've ever seen evidence of it. So anyway, so the two big fear things they've worked on with me, I had my opportunity to work through. I don't have a problem going in the woods. I'm not scared of them. They haven't hurt. They want to observe me just as I want to observe them. I don't know why, because they can observe me anytime they want. And
Well, they're working with you. That's
I don't
why.
think what?
Because they're working
What'd
with
you say,
you.
Brian?
They're working
Yeah.
with you.
And this guy right here, I think that he's the clan leader, but I'm not sure, because as I look through this video again and look at through frame by frame, there's actually one more Sasquatch in here, but the picture is so horrible that you already accused me of having a blob squatch here, but it is what it is. What was I saying? Anyway, I forgot. We're good.
Do you guys want to learn how to? There's something that you can do to energy wise to find out if there's a Sasquatch in the area or something watching you. Do you want to hear about that?
I do.
I knew about this before, but I kind of forgot about it for a while. But we were doing it at the camp out, and Gary, actually one of the guys at the camp out, he did this method, and he was led to an amazing rock ring that was way up a slope, and he just felt the energy. And so I said, oh yeah, I remember about that. So I was going to start trying it. So on the last night, we were singing and really high energy, and we could feel the Sasquatch coming in. Stuff like it was like a wall of energy, as one lady described it. And what you want to do is, if you're standing there and looking out over the train or whatever, you put your, back up a bit. Put your left hand out. And you'll feel coolness or whatever, right? And just scan it across. And when you feel warmth, when you feel extreme warmth, that's where they are. And it was dramatic when we did it at the camp. But we could actually, it was like a significant temperature change. So it's as simple as that. And the reason it's your left hand is because it's closest to your heart. So yeah, this is all backwards on here, but just like I said, cool, warm. And you could try that when you're out in the woods, when you get back out there, see if it works for you. Anybody could try that, actually. It really works. It's quite significant.
That's dowsing. That's one of the methods of dowsing. But it works really good. That's also how people track. It's the trackers do it by feel.
Yeah, it works. It really works. It was really noticeable that night. And on the last night, we had a couple people heard them walking around in the gravel, like footsteps. And just amazing stuff. But anyway, you want to hear about Coastal Chick's healing? And then I guess maybe we should wrap it up.
I'm sleepy.
Yeah. Let me just get into this quickly then. So it was funny because, some people, they experience the same kind of things, like Randy Brisson and I, we feel the exact same thing at the same time, kind of thing. And, Sue and I, of course, and there's others or whatever, but Coastal Chick had never experienced this before. But every time I was mentioning RE or something, or we were talking about them, and some point came up that they approved of, we both got hit up with this big kind of energy rush, right? Like instant, you feel that? Yeah. You feel that? Like it happened like 2 or 3 dozen times. And she said she's never experienced that with another person before. So that was very, very neat for her. But, and also speaks of the authenticity of it, because if you're just imagining things, the other person's not going to feel the exact same thing at the exact same time. As you watch my video, I've almost got it done too. You'll see that we talk about that a lot. But in any event, we're all sitting around the fire one night and we're discussing spiritual stuff, and we're discussing them. And that's when they really want to come in. If you're talking about the state of the world and you're all like, that kind of stuff, they're not going to come around. But we were talking about them and their nature and all the spiritual, amazing stuff that they do. And Coastal Chick had this, her actual real name is Carrie. And like I said, her husband's name is Jim. So I threw the and out. I just call him Jim Carrey. So anyway, we're all sitting around the fire, and all of a sudden she says, she got hit up, and it was obvious because we could all see it. She got hit up with this energy that she described as a tuning fork. It was just an amazing energy. And I can't, she said it was her whole body was lit up with this intense energy that I said, like she describes as a tuning fork. And initially she thought maybe this is an introduction, but I said, I told her, I think it's probably some kind of healing going on. And she had something that was really, really bothering her so badly that she actually considered that she might have to leave. Right. And so this energy addressed that situation. She could feel it, like starting to feel better in the area where it was bothering her. And to the point where it got completely better. She was 100% better. And I just talked to her yesterday, and she's still like 100% better. Like they literally healed her right there. Nice. And yeah. And she told me that a little later on, she was went away on her own and was just talking about them and thanking them for the healing, thanking RE specifically. And she heard like a loud grunt or a growl, whatever, but she felt that it was benevolent, which it is. And she felt it was very like loving and accepting. And she also heard at the exact time she was thanking them, like one of them walking around and snapping branches and stuff, like a beautiful confirmation. But yeah, they actually healed her there. So very, very powerful stuff.
That is.
Yeah.
Really.
Didn't you have some healing last year too? Something happened last year too, didn't it?
For healing?
Yeah, I think
It was
so.
Mary. Mary got healed a little bit. They
Oh, well,
worked on
that was
Mary's
me
leg.
with Mary.
No, last year? No, last year you were saying.
Oh,
that
right,
David-
right. Yes. Well, that wasn't at the gathering, but yes, RE got her legs moving and whatever, and got her, like, she was walking over logs that, like, like that. She was walking basically just like me. It was amazing. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. It wasn't
absolutely.
that. You're right. You're right.
Absolutely amazing. And yeah, so they're incredible healers. Incredible healers. Actually, Mary was there this year too and gave a few readings and stuff, and just blew people's minds, like raving about it. Yeah, she's a special lady. Very special lady. And I had something else I wanted to say, but it's kind of escaped me now. But
Probably because I monopolized all your time. I'm so sorry. As I think about it.
no, it was just in my mind a second ago, and I can't remember what it was. But
Brian, you seem subdued and calm. Are you in an afterglow from your camp out?
I'm just growing, Beans. Growing in leaps and bounds. Oh, you noticed a brand new me?
No, it's just your energy's not it's good. It's a nice accepting presence. You're being present instead of scattered, and it's a transformation. I think you had a transformation somehow.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're constantly working on me, so I wouldn't doubt that. What was my point? It was really, but in any event, like everybody who goes there, it seems like they get some kind of, there's a reason for it. They get some kind of understanding. Like I said, Christine, with when she discovered the second thing with the 11 sticks all wrapped around in that wire, she got it right away that it wasn't just a coincidence that she thought maybe I'll go over there and take a picture. She was being led there, and I was really happy that she got that right. And she actually came up with, independent of what I said, I had already figured it out with Sue prior, but she also realized that those two, I wouldn't call them glyphs, but the two stick things represented, the people at the camp out. So lots of growth at these things, lots of amazing growth. And it's,
How many days?
I always feel really, really grateful about that.
How many days altogether were you was the camp out?
7 days.
Wow.
Yeah. And for once, we had good weather. The last 3 times it was just like rain every day, right? Like not constant, but pretty aggravating. But this time we had like a heavy rain on the Sunday, and then every other day was just like beautiful. Beautiful, yeah. Yeah.
Did you drive home to go to sleep in your own bed?
What? While I was at the camp out?
Yeah,
No.
but you're only
That's
10 minutes
not a
away.
camp out when you do that.
Oh, okay.
I came home a couple times to check my messages and to have a shower or whatever, because I'm only 15 minutes away. I figured, well, why have a shower at camp when I can just come home and take care of some business and do stuff like that? But I didn't stay long.
Did you have any tacos?
No, that's why I want you there next time. We're going to set up a taco wagon. And you can put one of
I
those
can't
little
believe it.
Chef Boyardee hats on you. And
Taco wagon, taco day at the camp out.
yeah, Frank Oliver beans.
You need to bring a Dole Whip. You need to bring a Dole Whip machine.
Frank Oliver refried beans.
Well, once you're fried, can you get unfried?
No, but you get refried.
Oh, you mean even worse?
Yeah, first you got to make boiled beans, then you mash up the boiled beans, then you fry them with some pig fat, I think it is. I'm not really sure.
Okay. Anyway, there's a lot more I wanted to share about the campout, but like I said, I got a video probably be out today. I'm just going to do the last little bit of editing.
So did you do like a Barbara Shoop kind of a thing where you had like a circle and you interviewed people after the day or something at the end of the day?
No, I do it a little differently. I just, when I have I just ask, just when somebody had an experience or whatever, I just say, hey, can we go and talk about it? And we just go and sit off in the woods and I set the camera up kind of thing. It's not a formal kind of sitting around in the circle, rehashing the day's events. Both are fine, but basically I interviewed Coastal Chick a few times and Laurel, my friend, good friend of Susan's and myself, and Randy Barnes and Christine and
that's a lot of interviews. That's gonna be
another lady, Kersey. Have you heard of that name? I never heard that name before. You heard of the name Kersey? Me either.
Kersey.
I thought it was curtsy at first, and I thought she was greeting the queen or something, but anyway, yeah. So yeah, it's pretty good, and that'll be out in the next day or so.
Don't forget to tell people about the world's greatest, Sasquatch YouTube channel. Tell them that one.
You mean mine?
Well, there's no question about it. Why are you asking? There's only one world's greatest.
You consider my channel to be the world's greatest Sasquatch
It is
channel?
the world's greatest.
Why, I thank you, sir. Do you concur, Kevin?
World's greatest. Yeah. See, yeah.
You do?
I do actually. You want to know why? Because we talk about the real, the people you have on talk about the real stuff that happens. They're not hung up on whether this footprint is legitimate or whether, that vocalization was, a hedgehog, or whether, we talk about the reality of what's happening out there, whether it be just with Sasquatch or whether it will be with other little beings that, we don't necessarily talk about normally, right? You talk about the things that would fall through the cracks otherwise.
Yeah, and that's really what, and I don't want to slam anybody, but it's just the way I see it. That is the tragedy of groups like the BFRO and whatever, who just take reports and then they cut out all the real stuff out of them,
Right.
because understanding Sasquatch and the true nature of Sasquatch and the connection with Sasquatch is all about the woo. It's all about the supernatural. It's all about energy. It's all about connection. It's all about all one, all connected. It's
and I
that's
think
where the
we
true-
are too. We're all about the woo with it. We just don't recognize it.
Exactly.
Right. So anyway, my YouTube channel is Sasquatch BC, the true story, the Pork and Bean Show. And
And everybody is welcome to come and join our group. We have a group called the Pork and Bean Show. It's a coincidence that it came out that way. That we have, both of them are named Pork and Beans.
Yeah.
I have another group that Brian started and then he abandoned. It's called Spiritual Sasquatch.
Right.
They're pretty good.
Are they still going?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Sort of.
How could it be good? I'm not in it.
But it improved after you left.
Well, you see, sometimes you have to let the baby go on its own. I started it. It's a beautiful thing. And now
those people are amazing. Those people in the Spiritual Sasquatch group are amazing. They're all about the woo and having wild experiences.
well, say hi to them for me. Seeing as I am the father of the group.
You are the father.
Well, I started it, didn't I?
Yeah, you and Darth Vader.
So my adopted aunt loves you, by the way, Brian, and she is really disappointed that you dropped off of Facebook and got rid of all your Facebook friends. And she was one of them because she liked listening to or hearing about your stories.
What's your name again?
Melissa Cole. She's been my mom's best friend since high school. And
Well, can I rectify that? Will she forgive me if I add her again? I'm very sorry about that. I get on these tangents where I hate where I'm done, no, not done, but it just, I don't know.
she's not a drama person at all, so you're good.
I think, okay, what's her name again?
I'll send it to you.
Just send me the link and I'll gratefully friend her again.
Okay.
Yeah. Why did you just tell me this now? You should have said it a long time ago.
I forgot.
Was that important to you?
I want to say some things about
Oh.
the research community out there. I think the research community who are just making plaster casts and they're going out and having adventures, I think they're doing a really good job. I think, this whole, finding scat and finding hair and fingerprints and footprints and photographs and videos. I think all that stuff is real important. It needs to be done, and everybody should really have a deep, foundation of the actual physical reality of Sasquatch and the other cryptids too, because they can kind of bleed into each other. That pretty much needs to be done well, and there's a lot of people out there who are doing it well. And shout out to the people who have channels who just tell stories, and that really needs to be done too.
Absolutely. That brings in more people than the far out there stuff. And I mean, it affords people the opportunity, if they so choose, to say, hey, there might be a little more to this, and then they move on and broaden their horizons or whatever. So those groups, those people, they're doing excellent service in that sense. You're right.
Yeah, they are. Even though they could kind of rub me the wrong way sometimes, but most of the time they're good, honest people doing good investigation and they set the foundation. The woo can't really exist without that physical foundation of all the BFRO reports and all the tags around the United States, where there's all in Georgia and Florida and Texas and California and all that.
Well, I mean, I came in like in a sense, although I must say the first day that I actually had interaction with them, I knew that right away that they weren't animals, because I was out there knocking and they were answering me back. And I mean, it was just, it was like knock, knock, knock for me, then knock, knock, knock. I go knock, 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 and then you go knock, knock, and then, it was developed into a game where they were trying to outdo me and whatever. And I said, this ain't no dumb animal I'm interacting with out here. So, so yeah, it's a wonderful adventure, and it's good to have some people like yourselves that we can all share it with. Yeah,
I feel blessed, actually. It's kind of an exciting thing, it's like I really like the ET people, the Star Nation people, but you really can't go, you got to do some pretty elaborate stuff to have them just show up in the sky, or they if they have some business with you, they'll come and pick you up, but they don't have like a lot of business with people. But the Sasquatch people they got a lot of the same qualities of mystery and power and intelligence, and they're alien to our nature. And you can just go out in any woods in America, any woods near your town, and you're probably going to find a Sasquatch, and you can build a relationship with them. I think that's pretty profound. You can't just call in an Andromeda ship or some Syrian scout ship and ask them to come and teach you or heal you or something. But the Sasquatch, they're there. That's what they're there for, to be our interface with nature and into the world of mystery.
Yeah, they kind of introduces, they're kind of like a bridge, you know, even though they have all those capabilities, they're still kind of like a bridge to possibility and more and whatever. And they're very accessible if they choose to connect with you. So yeah, it's a good point. Very good point. Well, guys, what do you think? I can't think of anything more. There was way more in the camp out, but I just can't seem to think of it right now. But like I said, I'll have that video out on my YouTube channel probably today. So
Push the button.
okay. So on
This is
behalf
Frank
of
Oliver Beans.
Port Cunningham and Frank Oliver Baines from the world's greatest Sasquatch show on the planet, the Pork and Bean Show. We would like to thank our special guest, Carter Buschardt, and our career interloper and our favorite guy, Beef Wellington, aka Kevin Royce. Thanks for dropping in for the second half, Kev. Even though I had to blackmail you.
I loved your apple tree. I loved your apple tree story. I think that's a real good one.
Anyway, do you want to end off with a song there, Beans, before we
Nope.
No? You've already done You Are So Beautiful. I guess that's it. I
don't know any songs.
I guess we're done. I guess we're done, man.
I sent you a song today in your message box. It was called Living in a Box.
Oh, okay. And we should send that to the BFRO. Should be their theme song.
Look,
Right?
the same kind of stuff was going on with the UFO, you know.
Right, MUFON did the same
So
thing.
they did the same thing for 40 years. They didn't admit anything that was woo. They didn't admit anything that wasn't nuts and bolts. The same stuff, same story.
I got to give Carter Buschardt a lot of credit. That the guy who runs that organization and the closed-mindedness, I would just drive me out of my mind. I wouldn't have any patience for them. You know.
Not you, Brian. No, tell me it isn't so.
Well, let me put it this way: if I was submitting stories and whatever, and they were cutting out all the pertinent parts, I would go probably ballistic, at least internally.
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like you know, old school, like maybe 20 years ago, that they came up with this idea. Well, we want to promote Sasquatch, and we want to promote it to the scientists. COVID really switched our ideas about scientists around, but we want to promote it to the scientists to get scientific and recognition. So that means we're going to cut out the woo and cut out the fake people, and you know, and cut out the hoaxers. So it was probably a really good idea at the beginning, but this whole thing has evolved kind of beyond that now.
Well, like Carter said, in the last 5 years, people are starting to come around. I think that they're either going to have to change their tune or they're going to go extinct because, you know, the truth is out there, man, and it's getting revealed. So,
Yep.
Okay, gentlemen, I am Port Cunningham, my friend Frank Oliver Beans.
Push the button,
And
man.
thank you to our special guest today. We will talk to you next time. And
Love all the fans, love all the comments.
yeah, thank you, people. See you around.
down, you're gone.